Okay. Okay, I believe that the meeting is in progress and we are being recorded correctly. Correct? Okay. So Commissioners, first of all,
I can probably speak loud.
Turn it on.
Yes, Mr. Chair, point of order and/or information. If you could assist us in locating where on the agenda your presentation will appear.
okay.
And then secondarily, I see number 3 says public comment, but then number 8 says non-agenda public comment. Could you please explain the difference between those two?
Okay, so Commissioners, first of all, my item for purposes of training is near the end of the agenda. And it is, again, on the Brown Act, and I'll try my best not to bore you. They've given me 30 minutes to do it. It should not take me that long, hopefully. In terms of agenda comments, on every board meeting or in every public meeting, there are 2 opportunities for the public to speak on items that are not necessarily on the agenda. There's public comment, which is right now at the beginning of the meeting, which is public comment on items that are not or that are agendized items, I believe. And then, so anything that the public wants to say about what is on the agenda today, they can speak to. There will also be an opportunity under each item that you all have on your agenda for public comment to receive additional public comment. And then at the end of the meeting, there is a non-agendized public comment section. So for items that are not on the agenda, that the public might want to speak to, I believe that that is near the end of the agenda. I hope that makes sense. So there's non-agenda public comment, and there's also agendized public comment.
So if I understand correctly, the first one, number 3, is public comment, where the public has an opportunity to comment on items that are on the agenda.
Yes,
Does the public also have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda during the discussion of those items on the agenda?
yes,
Thank you.
yes. And so there'll be plenty of opportunity for public comment as these items come up, okay? And so that I get myself out of this position of being your chair, as well as Ms. Mosley, one of the items at the initial, right at the front of the item deals with officers or a process for selecting officers. That would take me out of this role. As an attorney, I'm pretty good, but as a chair, I'm so-so. So I believe that we can go ahead and call the meeting to order and take the roll call.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, can everyone hear me good? Clear on this one? So I will go ahead and take attendance, and then once you hear your name, go ahead and say present or here. And I will also notate who is excused. We have 2 commissioners who are excused, one of which is attending virtually. Okay, I'll go ahead and begin. So Octavio Aguilar. Okay. Leila Aziz. Oh, you can't hear us, is what you're saying?
Do you want me to say that again? Hi,
I couldn't hear
everybody. You know who I am. My question was, I can't hear or understand what people are saying, except for Clovis, who's very good. And so I was just wondering if there's some reason why there's huge separation between the commission and the community. Can we move up closer?
Yeah. I mean,
Really,
we
there's
can
no
bring them
reason to be
closer.
afraid of us. We're not going to do anything to y'all.
Yeah, we can bring them closer. Yes. So I can continue? Okay, I'll go ahead and continue with roll call. I left off with Leila Aziz. Bonnie Benitez. Alec Byer. Dennis Brown.
Here.
Thank you. That was good. Cheryl Canton. Okay. Doug Case.
Here.
Cheryl Geierman. Thank you. Christina Griffin Jones. Dwayne Harvey. Thank you. Brendan Hilbert.
Here.
Darlan Hochter Molmat. Clovis Honoré. James Justice.
Here.
Dennis Larkin. Maria Lozano Diaz. Sorry, that was Lupe, right? Lupe Diaz, I'm so sorry. Mark Maddox is excused and attending virtually. Nicole Marie Ramirez. Ivania Rubio. Thank you. Jaylene Sanchez. Gloria Tran. Thank you. And Dahlia Sherlyn Villa de la Cruz is excused. And that concludes roll call. Thank you.
Okay, Commission, there is a commissioner who has requested to be excused remotely. That commissioner's name, one more time, is
Mark Maddox.
Commissioner Mark Maddox, and it's my understanding that the commissioner has an emergency or a reason for why he wants to appear remotely. The Brown Act, under the amendments to the Brown Act, commissioners can appear remotely under limited circumstances, including where there is just cause or there is an emergency situation. In this particular case, this commissioner has an emergency situation and it deals with a health condition. So as long as there is a majority of you present, which there are, this commissioner's attendance remotely does appear to satisfy the Brown Act requirements of remote appearance. But for the record, I would like to just get a vote count on behalf of you commissioners, acknowledging the fact that you have one commissioner, Commissioner Mark Maddox, who is appearing remotely. Okay, so can we take a roll there?
Yes.
Vote count.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
correct. That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so we're just going to record your votes that you acknowledge that you have one of your members who is appearing remotely. Just cause has been satisfied and the requirements of the Brown Act are met. Yes, Commissioner.
The person who appeared remotely was in capacity at some point. Do we get to vote? Or can they vote on any?
Can they, are they allowed to vote?
Yes, that commissioner is a full participant in this meeting as long as you acknowledge it and just cause has been satisfied. Commissioner Hill. Yes, and then those, and just for the record, commissioners, it used to be during the old COVID days, we were meeting remotely all the time. But that has been extinguished. That is no longer the case. There are limited circumstances for teleconference appearances. This is one of this commissioner's opportunities to appear remotely. Okay, so if we'll take a vote, just so everyone acknowledges it.
Yes.
It's really, and commissioners, I will say this, actually, you know, you voting is, it's a strange part of the Brown Act in terms of the vote. You can't necessarily vote if this commissioner does not have just cause. But by your voting, you're acknowledging the fact that you have one of your members who is going to appear remotely and participate remotely, okay? Okay, Alina, take a vote.
We're not using the laptop for this part, right? Okay. All right. Okay, when I say your name, just state yes or no, yay or nay, or if you abstain. Okay. So Octavio Aguilar, Leila Aziz, Bonnie Benitez, Alec Byer,
Yes.
Dennis Brown,
Yes.
Cheryl Canton, Doug Case. Lupe Diaz. Thank you, thank you. Cheryl Geierman. Christina Griffin Jones. Dwayne Harvey. Brandon Hilbert. Darlene Hopter Molnar. Clovis Honoré. James Justice. Dennis Larkin. For the one virtually? Oh, we are doing that as well, right? Okay, but we need to be able to allow him to speak as well. Oh, I see, okay. Nicole Marie Ramirez. Ivania Rubio.
Yes.
Jaylene Sanchez.
Yes.
Gloria Tran.
Yes.
And Dahlia is excused.
I'm sorry, Alina, what is the vote?
She's counting.
So that's 15 yeses, so that's okay.
So the vote is 15-0-0.
0-0, correct. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of regular meeting minutes from your last meeting, or actually your first meeting on August the 29th, 2023. A motion will be in order to approve those minutes unless you have any suggested changes, revisions, or modifications. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment, excuse me. I jumped the gun.
Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and read our instructions for public comment for the entire meeting. If you are in person, please complete a speaker slip located at the check-in table outside and give it back to me. Please submit your speaker slip in a timely manner to ensure proper meeting management. No further in-person testimony will be taken once we begin virtual testimony. If you would like to participate virtually, you can do so via the webinar information found on the agenda cover page. Members of the public who wish to provide virtual testimony must enter the virtual queue by raising their hand by either dialing *9 or pressing the raise your hand icon before the queue closes. The queue will close when the last virtual speaker finishes speaking or 5 minutes after in-person testimony ends, whichever occurs first. Speakers will have 1 minute for public comment on each item. We have no agenda. Actually, we have one member of the public who wishes to speak in person, Andrea St. Julian.
Thank you, Commissioners. Very happy to see everyone here. As I hope you read, I sent you all a letter that is part of your packet. There are just a few things that I want to emphasize. You are going to be appointing officers today. I think it's very great that you're going to move forward. You do need that structure. You do need to take control by appointing your officers, even if that is only for a temporary period of time until you get to know each other. It's wonderful that you're looking at setting up committees. I would recommend that you be judicious in how you set up your committees because you have a lot of work to do. And don't think that you need to set up every single committee today, but certainly set up the ones that are most important that need to get working. And those committees that you might consider working on would include a hiring committee. You need staff to really get behind all the work that you need to do. You may also need a committee to discuss your permanent officers. You certainly need a committee probably for your bylaws. I want to correct one thing that I did say in my letter that is absolutely incorrect. It is that your attorney, Dennis Brown, drafted your bylaws. He in fact did not, and I did not realize that. And I have no idea why that's the case, but there are several things in the bylaws that are problematic. that should be looked at by your attorneys, not the least of which is the process for reviewing cases. That is a very old process. It is extremely time consuming and would not be appropriate to move forward. Those are all things that we can look at in terms of a committee. And so with that, I will leave it there. And thank you for coming today and doing all the work you're going to be doing.
Slight correction. Slight,
So,
Mr. Bennett, I have a slight correction.
1 second. I just wanted to announce really quick that Leila Aziz is here, so I can note it in the minutes as well. At 5:02 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, Charmaine, go ahead, please.
Yes, I think Ms. Andrea Sanjuli mentioned that the outside counsel's name was Dennis Brown and our outside counsel is Dwayne Bennett. So I just wanted to make that correction. Thank you.
Thank you. You just got demoted, sir. Okay, do we have any other public comments at this time?
Not at the moment.
Okay, and commissioners, I want to say one other thing about the agenda. This is, the agenda has been prepared with Ms. Mosley and myself because we're the only ones who could do it at this point in time until you decide on officers or executive committees to help us. But if there is something on the agenda that you all deem to be out of order, or you want to move an item up, sometimes items are suggested to be moved up or moved around, you have the ability to do that by certain votes, okay? So if there's something that you'd like to move up or move back, you know, you can, as commissioners, you have that latitude. Okay, so now I believe we're at the point where there is the approval of the meeting minutes from the August 29, 2023 meeting. Commissioner Brown?
One correction, I did attend the meeting virtually, and I am on here as an absent person.
Okay, so Commissioner Brown, okay, now I appeared actually through Zoom. I believe that at the time that you appeared, you were not appearing, you were appearing because you were out of state or?
I was out of the country.
Okay, so you appeared, but for purposes of Brown Act attendance, it did not count as an appearance, okay? So the minutes are correct in that regard. Okay, we'll note that. Commissioner? And please forgive me, I may not be able to see your name, Commissioner?
Hello, I just have a question, not a correction on the agenda, but when we have public comment and it feels like there needs to be some kind of follow-up, what's the process for that? Is that something that we need to talk about related to bylaws, or how does that work?
So Commissioner, here's the way it works, and you all please feel free to do this. After public comment, if there is something there, you all as commissioners can always be recognized. So if you have something to say, if you want some follow-up on something that has been stated from the public, you have an absolute right to say, I'd like to speak to that issue and request a follow-up. What we cannot do is act on the item at the meeting per se. So if a commissioner, if there's a public comment that says, I think we need a new process for how the police are dealing with their canines, you know, okay, we want to talk about, then a commissioner says, okay, we want to talk about how we do that. You can't do that. But what you can do is say, okay, based upon that public comment, I would like staff to come back at a future meeting to talk about how we deal with the canines. So if commissioners, if you have any comments on what was stated, you have a right to say it. You can just ask to be recognized and respond at that point. Okay, make sense? Commissioner Ramirez?
Yes, thank you. I was not aware, as I think all of us were not, that we could have made comments after the public did. I wanted to say something I think is very important. Just like I acknowledged the principal author and thanked her for her 7 years of leadership in getting this commission done. I also think that Commissioner Hilbert and Case were kind of presented in a different light. And I think it's only appropriate that we also acknowledge that both of them spent from 8 to 10 years working on this, getting this commission also to be established. And while other commissioners or board members resigned, they kept focus on it. And I want to thank them, both of these commissioners, for their years in bringing us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments from commissioners? We have more? Okay,
Thank you.
okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Tran. Do we have a second? Okay, we have second, third, and fourth, okay.
Wait,
Okay.
second was,
The second was
Justice.
Commissioner Byer. Mr. Beer, thank you so very much. So we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes, so we can go ahead and take the vote. Thank you.
thank you.
Could we just, instead of calling each one, could we just do an aye or nay?
No,
I had that exact discussion before. Commissioners, you can't, it's your commission, right?
Okay.
You actually could, but for purposes, just for purposes of clarity, if you would indulge us, if we can go quickly through the roll
Thank you.
call, we can do it, so we can move the meeting along. Okay,
Yeah, I'll go first.
okay, thank you. But that comment, Commissioner, I'm sure the executive director is listening. Thank you.
Just to confirm, it is Octavio Aguilar?
Alina, please go through the vote kind of fast. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I also wanted to notate that Octavio Aguilar is here as well at 5:07.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll go through it quickly. Octavio Aguilar? Yes. Oh, it was, yes, your answer is yes.
I'm not sure what this.
Are we accepting
What-
the?
Yes,
Yeah, the motion is to approve the minutes, Commissioner, from the last meeting.
it was a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Oh, I see. Aye.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Leila Aziz? Bonnie Benitez? Alec Byer? Dennis Brown?
Yes.
Cheryl Canton? Doug Case?
Yes.
Lupe Diaz? Cheryl Geierman?
Yes.
Christina Griffin Jones? Dwayne Harvey? Brandon Hilbert? Darlan Hoctor Molmat? Clovis Honoré? James Justice? Dennis Larkin? Mark Maddox, we're not doing that one, is it?
No, we have.
We are, okay, so I actually don't see him on the attendees list, to be honest.
Oh.
Mark Maddox is not on the
Oh, he's not
attendee
on
list.
it.
Yes.
Okay. So the commissioner who is appearing remotely, commission perhaps is not on? If he's not, then he's not appearing remotely.
Okay,
Okay,
just so I can keep going. I just
okay,
wanted to
you
let
just
you
keep
know.
on going.
Okay, thank you. Nicole Marie Ramirez? Ivania Rubio? Jaylene Sanchez? Gloria Tran? And Dahlia is excused, okay. And so that is,
And Commissioner Larkin, did you want to speak? I'm not sure. I see it.
okay,
Oh.
I'll just make a note that the vote passed 17-0-0.
Commissioner Dennis Larkin is virtually. Can you please promote him to a panel?
Okay, so.
Okay. No, it was Mark Maddox. Okay, correct, yes, okay.
Oh,
Sorry? Oh, public comment? Can you? Yes. Thank you.
So
Sure, I got it.
Commissioner Dennis Larkin is attending as an attendee, not a.
okay,
commissioner.
Correct, yes.
right, okay.
You want me to make that note?
Okay, Commission, so the minutes have been approved. Under new business and discussion, there are several items. And Commissioners, I think that this item, this first item that you're going to discuss and consider, will receive public comment after, is consideration of process for election of officers and/or election of officers. As a new commission, you need to have officers. And you either need to decide on a process for how you're going to select those officers or select officers. There is no magic. There is no rule in terms of how you have to go about selecting your officers. whether it's a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, a vice chair, second vice chair, et cetera. There is no rule. The rule is what you make. The ordinance, the city ordinance gives you a right to govern yourself. So what we need to have is a discussion in terms of how you want to govern yourself, as to whether or not you want to have a committee to decide on officers, whether you want to appoint temporary officers, or whether you want to appoint permanent officers, and what that process should be. I wish I could tell you, what you should do, but I can't. You could, the commissioners could show interest right now in terms of whether or not they want to be chair or vice chair or secretary. It's totally up to you. Whether you want temporary officers, permanent officers, it's up to you. In the past, there has been a nominating committee, which could be an ad hoc committee if you choose. You could form a group or a committee of commissioners to study the issue, to come back with some structure. But until you have the structure, the commission really cannot move forward. I served as backup counsel, and I just say this because this has nothing to do with the former CRB. I understand that some of you want to perhaps stay with the former rules of the CRB, and some of you want to move forward. But for example, at CLERB, the model that they use is they have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And as opposed to the staff, for example, taking the role and the vote count, the secretary does that. You could adopt that model if you choose, but it's up to you. So this item here, this action item is to hear your discussion and for you to discuss how you want to move ahead with your leadership. And if, for example, you do not select officers or temporary officers this evening, we need you to at least form what we call an ad hoc committee to study that process for your leadership. Okay? So I hope that makes sense.
Mr. Bennett?
And we have public comment, right?
The public comment period for this item is now open. If you have already joined the Zoom webinar online or by phone, please raise your hand if you wish to speak per the instructions on the screen, per the instructions on the agenda. If you are in person, please come up to the podium when your name is called. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public who wish to provide virtual testimony must enter the virtual queue by raising their hand before the queue closes. The queue will close when the last virtual speaker finishes speaking or 5 minutes after in-person testimony ends, whichever happens first. You will have 1 minute to speak. Andrea St. Julian. Francine Maxwell.
Francine Maxwell, Southeastern San Diego resident. Thank you all for your service. Thank you for volunteering. I think that you guys are all mature adults and we can get this done tonight. So please consider that we need officers. We need people to start building trust with the community. You guys have been around long enough. You know our history, and we are trying to forge ahead. So please don't do a subcommittee that will waste the public's time. We all know about the backlog. We are ready to start fresh and new. And again, thank you for joining, committing to what you're about to endeavor. You know that we're watching you, and I hope that you're watching us, and make sure that you know that we are supporting you until. Have a great evening.
Thank you. That concludes public testimony on this item.
Okay, Commissioner, so it's on you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I agree with you. I'd like to get moving so we could move on and start doing our jobs that we volunteered to do. So I echo her comments.
I think we all realize that this commission is very important. As she said, the city is watching us. I would propose that we elect a chair and 2 vice chairs, as many commissions have, because I think it gives us more of ability to have officers that represent our diverse communities. Thank you.
Mr. Bennett, I have my hand raised, please.
Charmaine, the interim executive director, Charmaine?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bennett. I just want to make sure that the commissioners are aware of the responsibilities of each role. The chair, first vice chair, as well as the second vice chair roles have different responsibilities. So I just wanted to note that as well.
I think we're officially going into discussion, correct?
Yes.
So I would propose, I think because there is a lot of work for this commission to do, I would propose that maybe for a period of up to 3 months, that we do some temporary officers, so maybe until the end of the year. And then during that period, I think we can all get to learn who each other is, possibly do a nominations committee like we've done in the past, and then we can kind of figure out who wants to do our roles, and then we can bring it back to the full commission to vote, December, January. But I think given everything we need, I agree with what you've said. I think it's probably important to have one of us as members of the city to actually be running this commission rather than having our executive director or the outside council doing it. So that'd be my proposal for us to discuss and to consider.
Just to propose another idea, I was going to suggest that we vote for these officers to go through June 30 and also form a committee for how we're going to do it in the future.
While I realize we all come to the table with different levels of experience in a meeting of this type, I would like to offer that for the sake of speed, that we utilize the Robert's Rule of Order, which says, if you have a proposal, the way to get us to talk about it is to actually make a motion. I move that we elect a chair, first vice chair, to second vice chair. Get a second to the motion, then we can have a discussion on that. And come to that, well, I'm not actually making a motion. I'm not actually making a motion. I'm saying that rather than have 9 ideas go around the table with 9 different discussions being had at the same time, if we put a motion on the table, we have a discussion about that motion, and we come to a conclusion about it tonight, as opposed to 2 hours later, we're still trying to figure out what to talk about. So I'm done.
I motion that we elect a chair and 2 vice chairs tonight, and that this officer body will not rule, that's not the right word, will be appointed until June 30th of 2024.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I will second her motion.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. And Robert's rules are perfectly fine, what we use. Commissioner Tran? You can have discussion right now. Commissioner Rubio after Commissioner Tran.
I like Layla's motion, except I would like to ask you to amend it instead of 2 vice chairs, do a first vice chair and a second vice chair, but you would have to amend your motion. And I'm not sure about the June 30th. That's just my feelings. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I'm just kind of on the fence about that. I'm sorry, Dan.
Okay.
I just want to ask for clarification for Commissioner Hilbert. I just want to once again ask, like, what was your idea that you proposed?
It was kind of along Layla's ideas. I think it makes sense for us to possibly follow the same format we had last time. So a chair, first vice, second vice, because I think each of those roles, based on what we have in our packets, there's a lot of responsibilities for each of those roles. And I think if we were to abridge it too much, I think that's a lot of work, especially for an all volunteer board. It's a lot of work for those people to do. I mean, I think we're all new and very few of us have had really a lot of time to talk to each other yet. So I think it's important for us to get to know who each other is, what our strengths are and where we can best be used on this commission. But I mean, to Leila's point, I think it's good for us to discuss what we want that timeline to be. I was going to propose potentially 3 months because I think that gives us some time to try to get the bases done. And then we can figure out if those are the same people we want to have moving forward. But at the same time, I also see there's a point for having a year because it is a lot of work and it takes time to get in and to do those roles. So, you know, if someone's only going to be here for 3 months, that's really kind of a caretaker position, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I like Leila, I'd like to see what everyone thinks on that.
Just to clarify, the first time that you did mention your idea, did you also mention nominating a committee to create a structure in place to continue nominating in the future? Like, did you propose both?
If you wanted to add that to the motion, she would have to amend her motion because that wasn't part of the original
Right.
motion.
Right, we need to go back and see, well, let's hear from Commissioner Chase.
Two things in terms of the length of time. I think that June 30th makes sense because then we tie into the fiscal year. And so normally you have your elections go on the fiscal year. And it also would give people time to get to know each other. It also would give time for a bylaws committee to be established, which would establish the process for nominations, among other things. So I would speak in favor of the motion. Did the motion say June 30th? Then I would speak in favor of that motion. I guess with the understanding it would have the same duties as currently listed and that the former chairs had, vice chairs had, and that there would be a bylaws committee that would work on the procedures for future elections.
So just for purposes of clarification, Commissioner Tran, just for purposes of clarification, Commissioner Lee, are you amending your motion? There was a request.
Sorry, can you please speak for me?
Yes, I want to amend the motion to have a chair, a first vice, and a second vice.
Okay, and is there a second to that?
I'm
amendment?
seconding that motion.
Okay, so that's still the motion on the floor.
I was gonna just agree with what Doug was saying and also add that in the bylaws as they are formed within the subcommittee, we can always tweak the roles.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we have to do exactly what was done last time. I mean, as everyone has told us over and over, this is our committee. So we can always tweak the roles, but we have to start from somewhere.
Yes.
That's what I'm feeling. And that's why, and actually, after hearing from everyone, I do like your motion till June 30th.
And that's correct.
Calling for a vote.
Commissioners, yeah, do we have any other comment before we call for the vote? And so the motion on the floor, oh, somebody, yeah, I missed, okay. So the motion on the floor is to create a structure where the commission has a chair, a first chair, and a second chair to serve through June 30th, 2024. Okay, that's the motion. Okay, everybody understand? Okay. It's an amended motion and we have an amended second. So we're all good. So you all can vote now. We go ahead and take the roll. If that's the structure we're gonna use.
Oh,
Mr. Bennett? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that when the commissioners are each speaking, that they identify themselves, or if you could identify them, that would be great for the record. For us people that's participating virtually. Thank you.
Louder. Well, okay. Can you hear? Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Awesome. Okay. Octavio Aguilar,
Who seconded that motion?
Dennis Brown.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, the initial motion was Commissioner Leila Aziz. Second is Commissioner Brown. Okay, thank you. So,
If you can just speak loud and just say yay or nay. You
Yeah.
agree with the motion.
thank you. Okay, Octavio Aguilar,
Yes.
Leila Aziz. Bonnie Benitez,
Yes.
Alec Byer, Dennis Brown,
Yes.
Cheryl Canton, Doug Case, Lupe Diaz, Cheryl Geierman, Christina Griffin Jones, Dwayne Harvey, Brandon Hilbert. Darlan Hochter Molnat.
Yes.
Clovis Honoré. James Justice. Dennis Larkin.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately, we can't take that as, okay, thank you. And then Mark Maddox is not on here as well. Nicole Marie Ramirez. Ivania Rubio.
Yes.
Thank you. Jaylene Sanchez.
Yes.
Gloria Tran.
Yes.
And Dahlia is excused. Thank you. And it passes, I believe that's 17-0-0. So I can move those.
We don't have details at all. So you can-
Okay, just skip.
Okay, commissioners, so we have the structure. You voted on the structure to have a first chair, a chair, first chair and second chair. All right, so we got through that part. All right, now the second part is who will be filling those positions? And again, this is a very, very critical part of the process, commissioners. I always think about it, several of you are attorneys. And as trial lawyers, those of us who try cases, we know that when you go in a jury assembly room, jurors quickly come to a decision as to who's going to be the foreperson. So it's not that complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but it's as complicated as you want it to be. So now we need to know, if now we have the structure, what do you think about filling those officers or appointing those officers or nominating officers tonight? Can we please, and commissioners, when you speak into the mic, can you please say your name?
Yes, my name is Darlan Hochter Molnat, and I'm just wondering who's willing?
Okay, so several, go ahead, Commissioner Hilbert.
I think I saw a couple hands go up. So again, I'm Brandon Hilbert. I'm willing to serve again. I think obviously being on the past commission, I think I kind of understand how things work, but also at the same time, I know we're all new and I know there's going to be a transition over time. So, I mean, if I were to serve, I would try to make sure other people are able to move up and take my role and I'd step away. I do have a 2-year term, but I think if we're doing it for 1 year, yeah, it was 1 year. I would stay on for 1 year and I would step away and let other people go on to take roles. I think who else had their hands up?
Okay, and we have some other hands up. Commissioners, please, again, commissioners, please state your name for the record when you get the mic.
Hi, my name is Gloria Tran, and I just would like to throw my name in there for one of the positions. I think Doug and Brandon did an amazing job. I also would like to see some new blood and maybe they carry over in certain positions as well. I've led many committees, especially through school districts and parents and other leaders, and I would like to be considered in some role. Thank you,
Commissioner Tran. Commissioner Honoré has a question. Yes, sir.
I can't hear.
Can we have someone who will stack the hands so we know who is in order to speak? So we don't have to just look around the room and see whose hand is up, but each hand that goes up, someone should be tracking so we know the order.
We sure trust that we're doing that. I am not, so we will do the best we can to go ahead and track that.
Yeah, if
But
someone could do
Commissioner,
that and then let you know so that you can call on folks as the chair of the meeting to keep management of the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You have the chair of the chair. I think we had Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Brown?
I'll just write it down right here.
I too agree that there should be experienced persons on this leadership and new people. And I'm submitting myself as a person who would be a new person who would like to learn from an experienced person and assume leadership at a later date.
Mr. Case?
Yes, I'm willing to serve. I've served as chair of the CRB and first vice chair of the commission. I would not be willing to serve as chair. I would like to see somebody new serve in the role of chair. And also, when I submitted my nomination, my application for the board, I indicated I've only served one term, and then I was selected for a one-year term. So regardless, I will be, termed out at the end of June 30th. I'd be willing to serve as either first vice chair or second vice chair if I were elected.
Okay. Commissioner Ramirez?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Brown.
Can you repeat that in the microphone, please? So it catches.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Brown for chair.
Let's make this interesting. I would like to nominate Dwayne Harvey for chair. Deacon Harvey?
Okay, so we have, So we have two nominations for chair. Commissioner?
James Justice, I'd like to nominate Brandon for chair.
Okay. All right. And then we had Commissioner Harvey who wanted to speak.
And Dwayne Harvey, I would like to nominate Gloria Tran for chair.
Okay. So just so I'm tracking. So we have the nominations so far are Commissioner Hilbert, Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Tran, Commissioner Brown.
Would it be easier? Side to side, and then we can have each person give theirs. So we don't have everyone.
Well, this is continue around. Commissioner Rubio, I'm sorry, Commissioner Tran. Oh,
But I got the mic.
okay.
Because I was next to speak. Commissioner Clovis Honore, I wanted to ask Commissioner Harvey if in light of his nomination of Commissioner Tran, if he wanted to withdraw his own name or if he was going to remain on the ballot.
In light of that, as we had a discussion amongst us, I would like to nominate Commissioner Harvey for second chair, I believe is what he kind of.
Okay, so commissioners, just so we can stay clear, look, I'm a horrible chair. You see why you need a new chair? But just so that we can stay straight, could we first just get nominations for the chair?
Okay.
Okay,
so-
just for the chair. And
Okay.
so for the
So
chair, so just for point of clarification, and you please help me. For point of clarification, for the chair, the names that I have, Commissioner Hilbert, Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Tran, Commissioner Brown. Am I missing somebody? Commissioner Brown, did you want to speak?
Yes, I withdraw from chair. I was asking to have a opportunity to serve underneath someone and assume leadership at a future date.
Okay, so now this is just me doing my individual tally. I have this is just for chair. Oh, Commissioner Case, do you want to speak?
Speaking process-wise, since we don't have bylaws yet, I was going to suggest that if nobody gets a majority on the first round of voting, we take the top two and have a runoff between the top two.
Okay, can you speak? I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to suggest that since we don't have bylaws that specifies the procedure for voting, that if nobody gets a majority on the first vote, that we have a runoff between the top two.
Oh. It's just a minute, yeah. Yes.
Well, no, we don't have bylaws, and so we need to have a procedure. And so I guess it would be in order because it'd be a considerate motion. So I would make that motion that we elected, if nobody gets a majority on the first vote, that the top two
go into a runoff.
Go into a runoff. And if there happens to be a tie, that we use a coin toss to decide who's going to be the tiebreaker.
Okay. Second motion. Excuse me, can we, wait a minute, can we hear the commissioner? So go ahead, Commissioner. Commissioner Rubio.
I got excited. Hi, this is Commissioner Rubio. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Brown for chair.
Okay, well, Commissioner Brown has said he doesn't want the chairship, correct, Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. I withdrew from the chair. I would rather run for the other two positions.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Okay, so commissioners, Commissioner Mallett, now we have a motion and a second on the floor. Commissioner, did you? Yes, okay, so the motion is in terms of how the vote is going to take place. Commissioner, Commissioner Case, can you recite your motion one more time? And Commissioners, the other thing is as we pass this mic around, I see you have sanitizing wipes. We had a COVID outbreak before, so we need to be very, very careful. We're good?
Yes, we're going around. And
Okay, yeah, so the motion is that if nobody gets a majority on the first round of voting for chair, there'd be a runoff between the top two candidates, and in the event that there is a tie, there'd be a coin flip to decide who gets the other position.
Okay, so there's a motion, and that motion has been seconded? Second, okay, so can we take a quick vote?
Who seconded the motion?
Commissioner
Byer.
Byer?
Initially Tran.
I thought it was
Thank you.
Tran. Hold on. It is
Initially
Byer?
Tran.
Wait, let's start over. So it's motion by Commissioner Case and seconded by Commissioner Chan. Okay, thank you. All right. Octavio Aguilar,
Yes.
Leila Aziz. Bonnie Benitez. Alec Byer. Dennis Brown. Doug Case. Lupe Diaz. Cheryl Geierman. Dwayne Harvey. Okay. Thank you. Brandon Hilbert. Darlan Hochter Molnar. Clovis Honoree. James Justice. Nicole Marie Ramirez. Ivania Rubio. Jaylene Sanchez. Gloria Tran. Just make sure I didn't get it. Okay, and it passed 17-0. Thank you.
Okay, the motion is passed. Commissioner Aziz.
I move to finalize the chair position and vote.
Okay, so we have the process. So, okay, so just to clarify, Commissioner Harvey, you have withdrawn, are you withdrawn from the chair's consideration, or are you still in here for the chair's consideration?
I would withdraw.
From the chair's consideration, okay. So it looks like we have Commissioner Hilbert and Commissioner Tran. Okay, on the floor? Is there another commissioner?
Can you? Oh, just, you can hear me?
Yes.
This is Darlan Hochter Molnar, and who now is on the list for potentially being the chair?
Commissioner Tran and Commissioner Hilbert. Okay, so Commissioner Tran and Commissioner Hilbert, and Commissioner Tran wants to be heard, and,
So,
oh, okay.
so before we call for a vote, I would just want to put a plug in for Commissioner Tran, because I think having the person as the chair, a fresh mind on it is a good idea.
Okay. And Commissioner Benitez, you had something?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think that these three officers should reflect our community, whether it's in gender or race, ethnicity. I think that that's very important in terms of the makeup of the three officers.
Commissioners, any other commissioners have comments before we take your vote?
I agree with what Commissioner Benitez said.
Okay, Commissioner? Okay, Commissioner Ramirez?
I think that it's very important. These are going to be our first officers, though they will have a few months or till June, that we have a very experienced person with a background that stuck it out during the, like I said previously, Brandon, I believe, spent 8 years working while other people kept resigning, kept fighting the good fight. And I like that he said he just wants one term. Wise, I think he will get it. And I think with a team of new individuals, that will make a perfect team. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Aziz, and then Commissioner Harvey.
I appreciate the work that you guys did on staying on, and it was very important. And I don't want to devalue that. But I think that we have the opportunity today to make this a new commission and shape this as a new commission, and it starts with the chair. I think that the person should be able to accomplish the job, and they should be the correct person who can follow through with their duties. But I don't think that the experience component is as helpful here as this commission fought to get here. It fought to change, and it fought to make a new day where all voices are heard. So I'm going to, even though I'm gonna respectfully disagree that we should be taking on the old commissioner chairs or officers, particularly the chair.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you. In all due respect, also, I respect what you guys, what the commissioner had done in the previous era. But I'm in agreement in the thing that this is a new thing. I think the leader or the chair of this new commission should be a new person, I would say. And honestly, I would love the idea of the commissioners from the prior with their experience to lend their experience to this group, but not necessarily lead. I mean, we still have two other positions that those individuals could actually be a part of. I think the chair should be someone that should be a new individual, part of a new organization.
Okay, commissioners, are there any other comments before we go ahead and take your vote? Your votes? Commissioner Rubio?
Commissioner Rubio here. Understanding that everybody comes from different backgrounds in terms of just knowledge on city, can we please, at this state of the commission, can we please break down what it would entail for each person, at least from the 3 months, the 3-month period versus the 1 year that these folks would take on, for just the general understanding, as well as the public, to promote transparency? Can we do that?
So Commissioner, are you asking what the duties of the officers would be?
Yes, yes,
Oh.
if you're comparing the 3-month period versus the 1 year?
Yeah. Right,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, what would the duties be for this 1 year period?
well, so I think, you know, the best person to answer that would probably be the interim executive director who's worked with the chair. I can say this, you know, now this is as a former city attorney. Typically speaking, a person or a committee chair in a role like this would supervise or not supervise, but actually serve in a lead position in helping the executive director set the agenda for the commission. There are meetings that have to be attended to involving interaction with the police department and setting leadership parameters in terms of helping to guide the meeting in terms of doing a better job than I've done in conducting this meeting. Your chair would be doing this in the future. So they would be calling the item, they would be taking or basically setting the agenda from the standpoint and running the agenda from the standpoint of public comment, taking the votes, serving in a leadership role, and basically doing a lot of the interaction with the police department and some members of the community, meetings, et cetera, as necessary. But I think Ms. Mosley could probably speak to that a little bit better than I. So Sherman, could you please weigh in?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Yes, the role of the chair for the CRB/interim commission and now this new commission is very extensive. It is a huge time commitment also. And I just want to make sure that individuals understand that involves going to meetings with council. It's not just me in the meetings with council members, whether we have meetings with the mayor. Right now, we are also looking at the office suite. So the chair is also going into the new office suite and having those discussions with the project manager and with the dream department. So it varies. It depends on the office, the chair, and that chair's time commitment as well. And then how much time that person can actually give, especially during the daytime, because a lot of these meetings do they do happen in the daytime. Like next week is going to be a meeting between, we're trying to schedule a meeting with Public Safety Committee chair to go up and give an update on the new commission. the chair is responsible also for attending that meeting and also giving a presentation. So there's a lot of responsibilities, and I tried to share the temporary bylaws. This is something that, you know, we used previously as a guideline, but it changed, it sort of like, it's different for each chair. Sometimes they write memos. If there's a memo for recommendation to the police chief, they're able to write those memos also. So it's a variety of responsibilities to, you know, to this position, as well as setting the agenda. It's me being able to meet up with the chair as in addition to the first vice chair and the second vice chair, and setting those agendas for the meetings, talking about training, which is what we have on tonight's agenda too, talking about the training and what should be involved in that. And also if there's issues within the commission that, you know, as I consult with the leadership of the commission when it comes to certain things, you know, sometimes there's EEO violations, right? And then that's me consulting with the cabinet, which is the leadership of the commission, on how to proceed with certain things. So that's what the responsibilities of these roles are. And it's not just chairing the meeting, Mr. Bennett, it's more to it than that. So I just wanted to add to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner
Can I
Rubio.
respond?
Commissioner Rubio still had the floor. Go ahead, Commissioner Rubio.
So in order to conclude my comment, with this understanding and promoting transparency, I would once again like to nominate Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Brown again, he has to accept it. Yeah, Commissioner Brown has not accepted. The other thing, and so, Mr. Commissioner Brown, do you want to respond? I mean, you keep getting put on the spot.
I accept.
Okay. Okay, Commissioners, so now we have three commissioners under consideration: Commissioner Hilbert, Commissioner Tran, and Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Harvey?
Good. And after listening to Executive Director, to me, that makes it even more important that we have, because they're going to be meeting with her and with other entities within the city, that we need a new individual in between, you know, her. And if you have another individual that have already been there, then I would, again, with all due respect, it may tend to, they're comfortable with what they've been doing, it may tend to go into business as usual. This new board was chosen for a reason. And so I believe, I know we need new blood. So at least at the position of the chair, we need new blood. We need a new person. And again, like I said, we have two other positions that individuals that have been here could be a part of, where they can lend their experience to. But that position of the chair is the most important position. And the executive director has a lot of time to meet with that individual and help that individual to do whatever they need to do. So that's very important.
Okay. Commissioner Ramirez had his hand up. Oh, Commissioner Honoree, I was paying attention. I saw Commissioner Ramirez's hand actually first. I did.
And I'll tell you, you saw his name first because you weren't paying attention when mine was up.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Which is why I recommended long ago that we have a stack, that somebody keep track.
Well,
So
I actually saw him. I'm not sure who saw
But
it.
I'll pass on to Commissioner Nicole.
But you go ahead. No, go ahead, Commissioner Honoree, please.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak again, Commissioner Clovis Honoré. The interim executive director has expressed the challenges and the complexity of the role. However, I would say that I've heard all the candidates at some point express their competency in following through these kinds of roles in other environments. And with that, with the expression that the interim executive director has made, and with the structure of these bylaws that have been proposed as interim bylaws, should they be accepted by the new commission, would there not be an extensive amount of collaboration and cooperation between the chair, the first vice chair, and the second vice chair that would defray some of the challenges, difficulty, and time consumption that any chair is going to face. And so, yes, there are the complexities and challenges and all the time that has to be put in, but it says if the chair isn't there, the first vice chair sits in, and if the first and second, if the chair and the first vice aren't there, then the second sits in. So it sounds to me like there's going to be enough capacity in this cabinet, as it's called in these bylaws, for, as folks say, any of the candidates to come in and then have enough support to be able to follow through and take care of the business of the commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just to follow up with you all, commissioners, keep in mind that even the bylaws are not your bylaws yet. You have not accepted them or drafted them, and you will have an opportunity to actually define the roles of these officers at some point in time. Commissioner Ramirez?
Yes, that is why I nominated Commissioner Brown, and thinking of that, obviously, that the chairs will be meeting with the mayor probably and having meetings with the police chief and so forth. It is important that if it was a former commissioner. That being said, I think it's time we hear from the three candidates that they say a few words to us. Thank you.
Okay, so just a point of order, I don't know whose hand went up first. I saw Commissioner Tran and then Commissioner Aziz. That's what I've been told. Commissioner Tran?
I would actually like to request that we take maybe 5 more minutes and then vote, so we don't spend all evening here, but that's fine. I also see the role of chair as, while it's a leadership role, without a doubt, you represent the community, you represent the commission. I also see that there are so many people of experience here at this table. And I would hope that it would be much more collaborative and it not doing the agenda or whatever, or people would give you input on the agenda. But I just see that everyone's role is so important because everybody represents different parts of the community, that the collaboration is what I'm excited about. It's hearing from everybody and their different experiences, because I know my experience is different, than everybody else's. So while yes, I think the leadership is hugely important, I also think that everybody's role on this commission is important and that it should be a collaborative commission.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Aziz.
I motion to give each of the nominees 2 minutes to tell us who they are, and then I move to a vote, please.
Okay, all right. Okay, Commissioner. Second? Second by Commissioner Rubio. Okay, can we get a quick vote on the process? Commissioner, sorry it's taking so long. Yes, Mr.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to make sure, because we have staff there, that to be able to help out as far as keep track of who's raising their hands, if staff can keep note of that and then let you know, share that information with you.
Thank you. Yeah, because I need all the help I can get.
Thank you. So Alina, you or
we have Johnny right now is currently writing them down as we go now. So that'll work.
We have a motion on it, so we're ready to take a vote.
Yeah. Okay. Octavio Aguilar. Yes. Leila Aziz. Bonnie Benitez. Alec Byer. Okay, Dennis Brown.
Yes.
Doug Case.
Yes.
Lupe Diaz.
Yes.
Cheryl Geierman.
Yes.
Dwayne Harvey. Brandon Hilbert.
Yes.
Darlan Hochter Momat.
Yes.
Clovis Honoré. Honoré, sorry, okay. Clovis Honoré. James Justice.
Yes.
Nicole Marie Ramirez. Ivania Rubio.
Yes.
Jaylene Sanchez.
Yes.
And Gloria Tran.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, so we have 2 minutes for each commissioner to discuss their candidacy, and then we'll go to a vote, okay? So just in alphabetical order, Commissioner Brown.
I'm Dennis Brown. My background is education and human relations and personnel. I have been in a position as principal, assistant superintendent of schools. I have also been in human resources, and I have evaluated both teachers, principals, superintendents, and had to deal with people who were excellent and people who were deficient, and recommend that they be either promoted or rejected and resigned. So my experience in personnel is very extensive. Because of that, I bring the observation of being also an African-American male who has been on both sides of the law enforcement. I have been victimized by law enforcement, and I've also supported law enforcement. So I bring a balance, I bring experience, and I also enjoy the idea that Ms. Tran brought forth of the collaboration that's going to be necessary between the three positions. I don't want to be perceived of as wishy-washy because I rejected the first nomination, but upon hearing the need for there to be new leadership, I am ready to assume that position of leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Hilbert.
Hey there, everyone. Brandon Hilbert. Obviously, I'm a legacy CBP member. I've been on the CRB CBP for, I guess now, just over 8 years. So obviously, I learned quite a bit as being a commissioner. Well, back at the time, as a board member. So I kind of went up through the whole ranks, became a second vice chair, first vice chair, and then most recently chair. Professionally, I do marketing. Worked for the real estate industry. So I'm totally like outside of this whole aspect here, but I do have a professional background of kind of leadership, management. And then obviously as chair, the things I've done is I've worked to try to get more public outreach going on with us. I tried to do a lot more public kind of our policy recommendations to the police department. We wrote a lot more memos to the police department while I was chair, trying to make a lot more revisions to policy based on cases we saw and public comment we received. Really trying to listen to what was going on within the community, what we saw as trends within cases, and trying to make changes within, how policies are being done within San Diego Police Department. Kind of what Gloria was talking about as well, I'm kind of the same way. I kind of feel like even if I didn't agree with something, obviously whoever's working as chair, you're representing the whole commission. So even if I voted against something, if the commission votes for it as chair, and I've done this in the past, I'll still work to push that forward, even if I didn't necessarily agree with what the premise of whatever motion or a policy recommendation we were doing. So I know I'm legacy, and I get the whole point is the community we want to have for new fresh blood. That's kind of what I'm saying. I would do at most 1 year as anything on the leadership team. And then I think it's time to turn hand the baton over to the other members and let them step up and take the role. It is a lot of work. As Charmaine said, I know in the transition period, we've been doing a lot more work than we've had in the past. Hopefully that'll die down. And as Andrea said in the past, we can kind of write our own policy and how we're going to move things going forward. But that still has yet to be done. So we had done some initial work with the transition committee to try to get the ball rolling at least. And then the whole point there was, even though it was said in previous meetings, everything's already written for you. That's not true. What we were trying to do is we were providing a framework so we can discuss, revise, and then approve. So as chair, that's what I would try to do to move things forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Hilbert. And Commissioner Tran.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. My name is Gloria Tran, and I've been an active volunteer in my community for over 20 years. I've helped with rebuilding our community after over 300 homes burned down. I also received many awards for my volunteer work, but that's not why I do it. I feel like I've fought for the underdog my whole life. I felt like I was the underdog. I was the daughter of a Middle Eastern immigrant. So they didn't know how to really fit in and kind of had to learn that myself. I also, like Commissioner Brown said, I've seen both sides of the law. I have a 20-year-old son in his 20s, And, he got pulled over for tailgating and got, told to get out of the car, frisked on the hood of his car for, never told why. But, he got through, he listened and he moved on. But also, what I'd like to highlight is some of my work with the San Diego Unified School District School Board. I was extremely active with that when my kids were younger, and I found a nice balance of how to work with the leaders of the school board. I had cell phone numbers, I would call them and say, hey, we really need this, but then calling them on the carpet when they were doing what I thought wasn't good for kids. Now, obviously, I'm taking that microcosm and moving it to the larger community. And so I feel that my experience working with leaders in the city, in the school board, I have the kind of personality and the background and the experience to know how to work collaboratively without, along with letting them know that we will call them on the carpet if there's a problem. So I appreciate your time, and I have a lot of respect for Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Hilpert, sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you, commissioners. So listen, this is interesting, and we are taking a lot of your time. So here's going to be my proposal as your temporary chair, hopefully not for long, is that what I would propose to do, and if you object, you can let me know. What I would propose to do is call each commissioner or call the commissioners one by one to see if we have a majority vote. Obviously, if we have a majority vote, we don't need to go further. If we don't, then we'll go to the next commissioner and to the third commissioner. And I will call the names in alphabetical order. And what I'm going to ask you to do, commissioners, because we don't have time to, I'm just going to ask you by a show of hands to show your support for whoever the candidate is, okay? And the staff is here to record the names of the commissioners who are voting for each candidate, okay? So the first candidate will be Commissioner Brown. All in favor of Commissioner Brown as chair, please raise your hand, show by a raise your hand.
Sanchez, Aziz, Maureen Ramirez, Mohammed, Fire,
because it's not in order. Give me one second. Rubio. I'm just gonna go this way. It's just easier for me. Hold on. Thank you.
Keep your hands up.
Keep your
Keep your
hands
hands
raised,
up,
please.
please.
Thank you. Okay. Mhm. Correct, I got it. Thank you.
Can you raise your hands again, please, one more
Ayla?
time, Commissioner? I thought I had 7.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Seven.
You have 7?
Yeah, that's right.
We have Brown, Aziz, and Sanchez on this end.
Okay.
Maureen.
Nicole, Ivania, Jaylene, oh, sorry, do that last name. Marie Ramirez, Rubio, Sanchez, Dr. Molnat, Fire, Aziz, and then who was I missing?
Brown.
Brown, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, okay, we have 7 from Commissioner Brown. Okay, Commissioner Hilbert.
Yes.
Commissioner Hilbert,
Diaz.
Mhm.
Gilbert.
Yes.
And Justice.
Commissioner
And this
Justice.
is for?
Okay,
Gilbert. Commissioner
Hilbert, Commissioner Hilbert.
Gilbert as chair.
Okay, so we have 4 for Commissioner, 3 for, okay, one more time, one more.
Okay.
Once more for Commissioner Hilbert, we have 3.
Justice, Gilbert, and Diaz.
Okay,
Please make,
thank
please make sure y'all get the names.
yes, we're
Yes,
recording,
we're
we're recording the
noting them.
names.
Great, thank you.
Taking the names. Okay, Commissioner Tran,
Okay, keep your hands up, please. Thank you.
Keep your hands up, please.
hands up, please. It is a tie. So as we record the votes, we do have a tie as we record the votes.
Sorry, can we finish?
Okay, no, no.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
You have the names? Okay, hands
Thank
down,
you.
commissioners. Commissioner Tran, did you want to say something? No, you're good, okay. Okay, commissioners, so based upon the motion and the process that you have agreed upon, there will be a runoff. And the runoff would be between Commissioners Brown and Commissioner Tran. Okay, so we'll use the same process to go ahead and have you vote. So let's start with Commissioner Brown as chair.
So again, I can't vote for Commissioner.
Commissioner Brown.
One second. Okay.
Can staff move the camera to the other side? Is that possible?
I'm sorry?
Can you say that again, Charmaine?
Can staff move the camera to the other side? Is that possible?
I'm gonna zoom it out instead, and then.
Okay, okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay, okay, and then for Commissioner Tran, there's only two of you left, so I'm sorry. This is for Commissioner Tran.
So this is for Tran.
Diaz. Hold on. This,
One second, sorry.
Okay, so if staff takes the vote, it looks like Commissioner Tran has 9 votes, Commissioner Brown has 8. So, okay. Excuse me, is there Commissioner Benitez? Did you have your hand up?
Raise your hand.
Can you raise your hands up one more time?
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8, 9. Okay, okay. Commissioner, so you have elected your chair. Congratulations, Commissioner Tran.
Thank you. May I nominate Commissioner Brown for first vice chair, please?
Okay,
Motion by Tran.
okay, motion.
wait, so that-
Is there anybody else that would like to be considered for second vice or first vice chair?
Motion by Tran.
Commissioner Brown? Okay, anybody else before we take a vote account on Commissioner Brown as first vice chair? Anybody else? No? Okay, commissioners, I'm gonna move you along in my temporary role before Commissioner Tran gets to take over this wondrous job. Okay, Commissioner Harvey? This is the nominations for first vice chair, and Commissioner Brown's name has been moved.
Okay.
Okay, so is there anybody else who'd like to be considered for first vice chair?
Yes, I would like to consider Commissioner Hilbert.
One more time.
Commissioner Hilbert,
Commissioner Hilbert, okay.
first vice.
Commissioner Hilbert and Commissioner Brown, anyone else? Okay, so commissioners, you all heard Commissioner Hilbert's background, Commissioner Brown's background, so I don't know that you need to do that again unless you just want to hear it. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and use the same process that we used before, if that's acceptable with you, okay? So, okay, for first vice chair, Commissioner Brown. Okay, you record this for first vice chair. Commissioner Brown has a majority vote.
I think we still need to record it.
Yeah. hold on
We
one
still
second.
need to
Keep it
record it.
going.
We're recording the names of commissioners, so please hold your hands up, please. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
You have the names? Not yet.
Okay, thank you so much.
How many have their hands raised?
We have 12.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the names? Are we good? Okay, thank you, commissioners. Okay, Commissioner Ramirez, we're good? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Ramirez. Did you want, okay, so we have a second vice chair.
I can't hear.
The recommendation was for Commissioner Doug Case as second vice chair. We did. That passed. So Commissioner Brown has been elected as first vice chair. There's a nomination for Commissioner Chase as second vice chair, correct, Mr. Ramirez?
Second, yes.
Second? Okay, is there anyone else that would like to be considered? Oh, Commissioner?
I would like to, I'm gonna massacre your name. Brandon is sitting next to Mr. Honore say your last name for me, please. Hill Pepper. I am so sorry. I don't have my glasses on.
So,
I would not nominate you, so you and Doug are gonna have to.
okay, so Commissioner Aziz, we have a nomination for Commissioner Case and Commissioner Hilper, correct? Okay, Commissioner Harvey?
Yes, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Honore.
Commissioner Honore, okay. So we now have Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Hilper, and Commissioner Honore.
No.
I mean, excuse me, I'm sorry. Commissioner Case, Commissioner Hilper, and Commissioner Honore. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, anybody else? Anyone else for second vice chair? Okay, so again, Commissioner Case, Commissioner Hilper, and Commissioner Honore. All right, okay, Commissioner, so are we ready? Do you want to hear? Okay, we haven't heard from you. We haven't heard from Commissioner Case. We haven't heard from Commissioner Honore, and Commissioner Hilper we have heard from, but you can say again. Commissioner Case? Oh, okay, one more nomination? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Rubio. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Nicole. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, awesome, we can continue.
Okay, so we still have the three, right? Okay, so Commissioner Case, you want to speak for 2 minutes?
Okay, as I mentioned, I previously served as actually second vice chair, first vice chair, and chair of the CRB, and was first vice chair of the commission. I also chaired the transition committees. We did all of the legwork in order, setting up the new commission, a lot of which I went over at the last week's meeting. I have quite a bit of experience in running meetings. I am the parliamentarian of many groups, including the San Diego County Democratic Party. Have a lot of expertise in writing bylaws and so forth. I've been to many NACOL conferences. I think I've been to 7 NACOL conferences, which participated in many NACOL webinars and other activities. Do I? Oh, NACOL. NACOL is the National Association for the Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, and I am a certified practitioner of oversight with NACOL.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Case. Commissioner Hilper, do you have anything additional? You said, okay. And Commissioner Honore. Can we get the microphone to Commissioner Honore, please?
Good evening again. I've been following my friend Doug Case around since 1980 when I was the president of the Black Student Union of San Diego State and sitting on the Associated Student Council back then before many of you were born. So I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. Many people were surprised to see what happened to Rodney King. I saw it happen in my community more than once while I was growing up. When I came to San Diego to go to San Diego State University, one of my most salient experiences was being faced out in the middle of the street with a shotgun on one side, a police on the other side, a helicopter over my head, and about 20 police cars surrounding me out of a mistaken identity. Fortunately, I only spent a few hours in the lockup because we were able to corroborate our story that we were not the perpetrators. At the same time, I have 2 sons that have done time in local and state prison. And at the other side of that, I've had a police officer come to my door and bring my son home to me. So I've been on all sides of this issue in terms of policing, I do have family members that are police officers, but I've never been one myself. I am currently the chair of the Alliance Health Clinic. Not a parliamentarian, not nearly as well versed in parliamentary procedure as a parliamentarian, rejected that position a couple of times for that purpose. I'm on the board of about 12 different organizations, mostly obviously just for having my face there as having been a former president of the San Diego branch of the NAACP. People just like my name. Plus, it's a nice name. Honore is a real wonderful name. And I would be honored to serve along with the already nominated and elected officers in the interim cabinet, because remember, this is going to be a temporary position until we actually get our bylaws together and get our structure together and move forward. And so for those of you who are willing to consider me, I would be honored to serve as your second vice president. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Honore. Okay, Commission, so we've heard from everybody. I think we're ready to engage in the same process. So I will go again alphabetically, and please, by a show of hands, you can support the candidate you choose. Okay, Commissioner Case.
Aguilar, Meyer, Tran, Murray Ramirez, Justice, Brown, and Case. Sorry, keep your hands up. Just
Please keep your hands up.
I got
one more
that.
time.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yes.
Okay, we have 7. Okay, Commissioner Hilbert.
You can tell me.
Diaz, Rubio, Benitez, Hilbert, 4.
Okay, thank you.
And then Commissioner, you have that? No? Okay, Commissioner Honore.
Mulna, sorry from the term, Harvey,
Wait. Okay, I'm not Harvey.
Honore, Aziz, Hireman, Cantu. That's 6. The first one was Keith. Correct.
Okay, so, okay, Commissioner, so it looks like you've selected Commissioner Case as your second vice chair. Okay, Commissioner Case had 7 votes, okay? Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, so you have your slate of officers, and Commissioner Tran, Commissioner Brown, and Commissioner Case. Congratulations. You'll be able to do this meeting. All right. Okay, all right, we're ready to move on to the next item. Commissioners, I'm trying my best to remain cognizant of the time. Your time is important. Commissioner Ramirez? Commissioner Tran, if you would like to, you certainly may. Oh, okay, Commissioner Tran, now the office, you can take over. Commissioner Tran, would you like us to do?
Congratulations, everyone.
You can also take this mic from my hand.
Please wipe the mic.
Is this going to be a problem from the camera standpoint?
From the camera standpoint, no, but I just want to speak to all of them.
So Commissioner Tran, it would be great if you would come up this way. I will stand right over here to your side.
Don't leave me.
Please wipe the mic.
Yes, we are having with the Clorox wipe.
Thank you, everyone. I don't know about you, but I would love to get as much business done tonight as possible. But if you feel we're moving too fast, please let me know. So kind of be my guidepost. The next agenda item is 5A2, consideration and appointment of commissioners to ad hoc governance committees. Is there anyone who, well, what I see are the 2 important things. I'm sorry. I apologize. We have public comment.
And this is virtual? No, this is in person. So I can put the timer. Yes. Charmaine, do you mind taking off your screen really quick so that I can put up the timer?
The public comment for this item is now open. If you have already joined the Zoom webinar online or by phone, please raise your hand if you wish to speak per the instructions in the agenda. If you are in person, please come up to the podium when your name is called. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public who wish to provide virtual testimony must enter the virtual queue by raising their hand before the queue closes. The queue will close when the last virtual speaker finishes speaking or 5 minutes after in-person testimony ends, whichever happens first. You will have 1 minute to speak. Andrea St. Julian? Thank you. This concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Obi? Thank you. Okay, so the two things that I think that we need to have addressed as quickly as possible are bylaws and standard operating procedures. So I know that there were drafts that we all have that were proposed by the former board. I would like to form two committees tonight, a bylaws committee and an standard operating procedures committee to tackle those. Discussion, Commissioner Case.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, thank you. This is Commissioner Case. I was gonna suggest maybe two committees, a rules committee that would do both the bylaws and operating procedures, and also a personnel committee to deal with filling out the other positions that we have yet to fill, and also working with the city council in the process of selecting a permanent executive director. Okay, yes, I'll make that motion. And so my motion is that we select a rules committee to deal with the bylaws and operating procedures that are required under the implementation ordinance, and a personnel committee that would assist in the recruitment, screening and selection of staff positions, including and working with the city council in the selection of the permanent executive director.
Thank you. Commissioner Aziz.
Motion by Case, second by Aziz.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion?
I can't hear virtually.
Commissioner Aziz, okay. Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Rubio.
I just would like to pose the question of how long would this time frame be?
Go ahead, Commissioner Case.
Yeah. I would say until the end of the fiscal year, so that would give us time to appoint new bylaws and operating procedures, and at least get in motion the different processes for staff selection. And then depending on what the bylaws say, you know, we may have additional committees, and appointments could be made by the new chair and so forth. And so I think it makes sense to do everything until June 30th, and then we would start fresh, or the commission would start fresh with a new administration on July 1st.
I think it's important, though, to have bylaws and standard operating procedures as soon as possible.
Oh, no, I was suggesting that the committee would serve until then.
Thank you.
That we would hope we would hopefully, you know, accomplish those things expeditiously and approve them as a commission as they are brought forward.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes, ma'am.
For the as soon as possible, can we set a very rough timeline or deadline?
I would, this is my opinion, so I'd love to hear from everybody else. I would love to have those in place by maybe the next two meetings, so within a month or so. At least we can vote on them by then. We would need bylaws to start operating, and we also need standard operating procedures. So I was thinking maybe two committees on that one. I'd love to hear feedback.
Cheryl? Commissioner Geierman had her hand up. Commissioner Geierman, you have your hand up? Or no?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Geierman? Geierman.
Yes, I didn't know what you meant by, we need one committee for bylaws, one committee for.
That was my recommendation. I know that Commissioner Case thought maybe one rules committee could do both.
Is that right? That was your search, okay.
I don't have an opinion on that. I just wondered how many people are going to be on the committees. Do we have a set number or?
We don't have a set number. I would say 3 to 5 would be an average number. And that way, because we have other committees eventually that we're going to form after the bylaws get approved. So we don't want to burn everyone out. Yeah.
Okay.
And commissioners, I want to let you know that the committees that you'd be forming are ad hoc committees. These are not Brown Act committees. So these are committees that you could meet together online, or you could meet somewhere. You do not have to meet in the purview of the public. Our ad hoc committees are temporary. They're there for just a limited period of time for a specific purpose, for purposes of getting something done, presumably in an expeditious manner.
Executive Director Mosley has her hand up.
Thank you, Chair Tran. I just wanted to note also that the bylaws does not need to be approved by council, but the standard operating procedures will have to get council approval.
Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Aziz? I'm sorry, Commissioner Honore?
Yes, Commissioner Clovis Honore, I just want a little clarification, because you just said that the committees would be ad hoc. However, should these bylaws or a form of them be accepted, this states that the Rules Committee, and I believe you did say it would be a Rules Committee, is that right, Commissioner Case? That the Rules Committee is a standing committee, not an ad hoc committee.
So Commissioner Honore and Commissioners, it's a great issue. The difference between standing committees and the ad hoc committees is really the difference that you decide to make. You don't have to have a standing committee as a rules committee. You'll decide that when you go through your bylaws. But as you adopt your bylaws through an ad hoc committee that comes back and reports back to you as a body, once you all agree, then you can adopt your standing committees. The standing committees are going to be committees of continuing jurisdiction as opposed to temporary. So right now, you don't have a rules committee unless you decide you want to have one, which would be, and it doesn't have to be a standing committee unless you want it to be as a commission.
But also, thank you. Also, a standing committee has to follow the Brown Act, whereas an ad hoc committee can meet without violating the Brown Act, without, noticing the public for 72 hours and that sort of thing. So there is a difference between those two. Commissioner Aziz.
Just a question. To my knowledge, the chair appoints people to the committees. Is that how this works here? We don't have bylaws, who knows, right? But
I would like to see who's interested, and then
Right.
we form a committee, and then we go from there.
I would like to also suggest that because this is so important, we're moving great, we're moving fast, we're trailblazing, but we do have people like Mr. Bennett, and then we have Paul Parker, he's done a lot of community clinics, and then other people. Can we bring them in as experts as you guys build this so that we have the robust expertise at the table to support you guys?
Yes, from what I read, and I know that the bylaws were draft, but they said you could bring in outside community members to be part of those committees. I believe Commissioner Hilpert.
I was gonna say, for the ad hoc thing, yes, they don't need to be Brown Act and open to the public, but I think again, past case commission, we were always very, I would say, somewhat adamant that we try to make everything as public and transparent as possible. So I would just like to remind people, we are a public commission and we want people to know what we're doing. So I would say, even though these are ad hoc commissions or committees rather, I think we should still try to follow the Brown Act, do the agendas as much as possible, make them public as much as possible, because the people want to see what we're doing.
Great point. Commissioner Melman.
Yes, I'm Darlene Hochta Molmat, and right now it sounds like we're talking about having potentially 2 ad hoc committees, one for the bylaws, one for the operating procedures. I would like to suggest a third one to discuss and refine the training that we're going to have as a commission. I think that would be important.
Thank you. Anything else? So right now, it looks like we have the suggestions of 3 committees, 3 ad hoc committees: bylaws, standard operating procedures, and training. Thank you. So that would be 3. We could do the rules as 1, but that seems like we would focus on the bylaws, but then the standard operating procedure, we don't know how to operate until we get that in place. So that's theoretically 4.
Did I make a motion?
Yes, please make a motion.
Okay, then. Well, unless there's an objection, I would amend the motion let me just state all of them. Amend the motion to have a committee on bylaws, committee on operating procedures, committee on training, and committee on personnel.
Is there a second?
Motion by Q, second by us. Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Need 4 committees?
Commissioner Aziz.
Yes, just, do you need, even I second your motion. I know that's very contradictory, but do you need that many committees?
I think because we need to have bylaws and operating procedures as soon as possible, that, the chair's suggestion that maybe we ought to have 2 committees so we can work on those concurrently makes some sense.
And they are ad hoc, and if we feel that, one doesn't need to be after the bylaws are done, unless, depending on what the bylaws committee comes up with and the commission agrees upon, then we can figure that out, how many standing committees there will be. Okay, any more discussion? Yes, Commissioner Lozano Diaz.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Diaz. I was looking at some of the standing committees here. Continuing education, I think, is important for all of us, especially, I'm new at this. And I think there's a requirement of 45 hours of continuing education, as I was reading the packet. So can that be included in the recruitment and training, like coalesce those 2 committees? You can hear me?
So commissioners,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little. I'm looking at page 11. The Continuing Education Committee. Can you all hear me now? The Continuing Education Committee. I was hoping that that could be included in the Recruitment and Training Committee, if you wanted to make it into 1 or 2. Because I think there's a requirement of 45 hours for continuing education. I was reading it in the packet.
so commissioners, just a point of clarification. Everything that's in this package, for the most part, is a recommendation and template. It is not carved in stone. So these are thoughts, these are recommendations. They're not requirements per se.
Okay, but
So in terms of what you're saying, it sounds like something that would go under the training ad hoc committee discussion, perhaps. And the thing about it, commissioners, you may decide you need more ad hoc committees. I can guarantee you're going to need more, believe it or not. And so at some point in time, even if we go through the agenda, you'll see there's another issue in terms of how you're going to, when we get there, we'll talk about case review. That may be another committee.
Well, I guess because I'm a nurse and we do a lot of continuing education, so I think it's really important to educate the members of the commission also in new developments. And I believe I read somewhere where it was 45 hours of continuing education.
As Mr. Bennett said, that's a recommendation. Because we get,
right.
This commission gets to basically make its own.
Right,
rules.
but it's like recommendation.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner Benitez, did you have your hand up? Oh, Commissioner Aziz.
I just wanted a point of clarification about the continuing ed versus the initial training. In my mind, in reading this, those are separate things. The continuing education was for ongoing training for the commission, and that was above and beyond the initial 45 hours of training. Is that correct? Can someone answer that?
That is correct.
Okay, interim executive director Mosley said that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. The initial training is like at least 9 to 10 components, and we're constantly revising it based on suggestions and feedback. Continuing education is something that we've done in the past, which is like at every meeting we would have educational topics to train the commissioners on, and then also like PERT training and certain like menu training from SDPD and certain things like that. It's just continuing education, and also we've had refresher trainings also. And those were part of the CRB/commission meetings in the past.
Thank you.
I'd like to make an amended motion to Doug's motion on the committee.
You
Did
can
you make a motion?
recommend he amend his motion.
Oh, I would
but While
recommend-
there's a motion on the floor, it's that motion.
I want to add an extra one if you are willing to do that, right?
You can ask him to amend the motion.
I would like you to amend the motion to make one committee for now that would add recruitment and training, community outreach, and continuing education in one committee. Because these are, take out, let's recruitment and training at least for now. But does that look like we're putting the cart before the horse? Because we already have a whole training plan that we need to look at. Is there going to be a committee that goes over that training plan? If that's going to be sufficient?
The way I see it is right now, because we don't have bylaws, we don't know what committees we're going to have. So if we do the bylaws and get them done quickly, which is what I think a number of us are recommending, then we could see what committees we want. It would take input from every commissioner to see what committees we want. But without bylaws, we don't have anything to operate by. So I think we were trying to make it as succinct as possible and focus on what our immediate need is. That's the way I see it.
And you guys have said bylaws within 30 days, and the rules committee will be complete by 12/31.
The standard operating procedures, that's.
Okay, I wrote that wrong. I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I was out of the room when we came up with the deadlines. There is, oh, okay. Okay, for the bylaws, yes, for the standard operating procedures, there's about a dozen different procedures we're required to develop, including the investigation, a review of cases, review of discipline. Those are some of the more serious ones. And so getting all that accomplished by the end of December, I think would be a challenge. And so I think bylaws is possible to get done in a month, but the other operating procedures, I think we need to prioritize them and spend adequate time to do them.
Do you want to amend your motion then to say?
My motion didn't have a timeline.
Okay, then never mind. Any more discussion? Yes, Commissioner Honore.
Just a point of information regarding public comment on agenda items. At this point of the discussion, does the public still have an opportunity to have comment?
Ms. Ovid asked, and since I would like to hear as much from the public as possible, I am good with that. If anyone objects, please let me know. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, there is one public comment, and if you are all okay with it, I would like to hear it. Okay, we got an okay.
Colleen Cusack? You have 1 minute.
I mentioned last time that I'm available to, Colleen Cusack, that I'm available to help educate you, inform you, and I very much would like to participate on a committee that involves the training that you will be receiving. So I volunteer for that.
Thank you, Ms. Cusack. Any other discussion? That completes the comment. Any other discussion on Commissioner, second vice chair cases motion? Okay, how about if we take a vote? So do you want to repeat your motion one more time? Right behind you.
Yeah, so the motion is that we appoint 4 committees. I think we decided they're going to be ad hoc committees.
Yes.
Although I will say on the side, I agree with Brandon, and we try to keep our process as transparent as possible. But anyway, my motion was that we have 4 initial ad hoc committees, that they be bylaws, operating procedures, personnel, and training.
Can we take a vote? Does everyone want to go one by one, or do you just want to vote?
The motion was all one motion, so you voted on it. You only vote.
Right, so
My suggestion and for future votes is we can do some by acclamation.
I agree, thank you. If, as long as legally we're good. Okay, all those in favor of Commissioner Case's motion to have 4 ad hoc committees, bylaws, standard operating procedures, personnel, and training, say aye and/or raise your hand. Okay, can you please keep your hands up while our fabulous staff takes? It's unanimous, perfect, thank you, unanimous. All right, so we have 4 committees. Do we want to see if anyone's willing to step up to these committees? Okay, so anyone willing to, let's start with chairing the committees. Is there anyone who wants to chair the bylaws committee? Commissioner Benitez, you were willing to chair it? Commissioner Geierman, I'm sorry, I will get it right, I promise. Okay, anybody else? Okay. Oh, yes, sir, Commissioner Aguilar, you're willing to as well? Okay. Do I get to? Yes, yes, Commissioner Melmont.
Do we need to pick a chair for each committee?
And that's what Mr. Bennett just said. What we'll do is we'll pick the committee and they can pick their own chair.
Exactly.
All right, so who volunteers then? From what I see, Commissioner Geierman, Commissioner Benitez, Commissioner Aguilar, that's 3. Anybody else? Correct. Commissioner Case. I'm sorry, this is 5. Commissioner Case. And Commissioner Byer.
Can you please keep your hands up? While you're. So 4,
Where's
so
the,
Aguilar.
can you please keep your hands up?
Benitez,
You're
Byer.
on.
Case.
Only 3?
No. Commissioner Aguilar, Byer, and Benitez. Yes, I got it.
No, wait, it's 5 with Case.
Thank you. That's it. 3, we have 5. I say 3 to 5 on each committee. Okay, and I 100% agree with Commissioner Hilpert and Commissioner Case as far as keeping it transparent. We are the community. Yes, Commissioner Harvey. I'm sorry, sir?
So go ahead and finish and I'll ask the question.
Okay, so we will, when you're going to meet, please let everyone know. And then who posts on the website? Ms. Conde? Ms. Conde will put on the website, inform the public. So, and then will we have a virtual way for them to join if they would like or not?
I thought for.
Ad hoc.
Okay. So Commissioner, okay. So this is not to exclude the public, and I understand everything you're saying about public participation and comment. If you form, this is just up to you. If you form these ad hoc committees, and if you require there to be the public notice that we give when we're doing Brown Act meetings, et cetera, you are going to create another level of bureaucracy. It's going to be difficult for you to meet. As ad hoc committee, now you can meet virtually without notice, et cetera. So, perhaps there's a way to invite the public, but not make yourselves a Brown Act committee. I mean, so that you can still meet virtually, et cetera. Once you get into Brown Act requirements, it becomes a different thing.
Can we post that if the public has any input to these committees, they can email or we can figure that out. And then we can report out. Is that okay? I'm sorry. Executive Director Mosley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to also add the difficulty in getting meeting room locations. If we're going to have to post the agenda online, we will have to make sure that we have a meeting location, which has been very, very difficult with the city.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Harvey was next.
Just get some understanding and clarification. I know the bylaws are not set, but it was talking about limiting or having a maximum amount of members. But we were talking about the community being a part of these ad hoc. So how do we inform or get anyone that's interested in being a part, not just to view the meeting, but I mean, be a part of that committee?
Okay, so Commissioner, and this is all great because I'm not gonna get to the Brown Act presentation tonight anyway. But this is a part of the Brown Act. Your ad hoc committees must be solely comprised of you commissioners. You cannot, if you include members of the public on the ad hoc committee, you're a Brown Act committee. So you lose the status of ad hoc. But there is no reason why you cannot get public communication, get public input in terms of everything that's happening. And then for members of the public, so that you don't feel excluded, everything that the ad hoc committee comes up with is going to have to come back to this public forum and to come back to the public body for purposes of discussion. So if you have, for example, if you're in the ad hoc committee, decide you're going to meet by Zoom, you can tell members of the public, they can join by Zoom, but it does not make it a Brown Act committee for purposes of Brown Act noticing, et cetera, and having to have public accommodation. You cannot meet any longer in California under the Brown Act through teleconferencing, but if you're an ad hoc committee, you're not under the Brown Act. So you can come up with a different way of getting public input.
They would not be members of the committee, but would they be able to participate in the meeting? Could they give their, could they enter into the discussion at a meeting or not?
You, as a member of the ad hoc committee, you can take whatever comments you want to have from the public.
Okay.
They can't vote.
I know
They
that, I
can't
just wanted to
vote, they
clarify
can't
that.
direct- Yeah, they can't vote. They can, if you want to engage, you're an ad hoc committee.
Right, that's how we initially set up the transition planning
Right.
committee, and so,
Right.
okay, thank you.
But it does not exclude the public. I don't want anybody to think the public's excluded, but it gives you maximum flexibility to get done what you need to get done. And it mitigates the level of bureaucracy.
So just to clarify, you can put out the link and the public can join by link, but it doesn't violate the Brown Act doing that. Perfect. Ad hoc, got it. Okay, we have one more public comment. Are we all okay with hearing that? Go ahead.
Kate Vendetti, you have 1 minute.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Kate Yavendetti. I'm with Women Occupy San Diego. And I just want to raise a question because I was on the transition committee as a committee member. And I think it's really important to be able to have a community voice on all of your committees. So it seems to me that at that time it was legal. I didn't have a vote, but I had a voice. And I think that's what Commissioner Harvey is asking for, and that's what the community is asking for. And I think that we need a way to do that, find a way to do that. And I think within your own committees, you can figure out how you're going to get community volunteers, like me and like Colleen. And there's a lot of other people who want to continue to have a voice in the building and development of this new commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to respond, so Ms. Vendetti, that was a Brown Act committee. So what happened, even though it was an ad hoc, no, even though you called it, the commission called it an ad hoc transition committee meeting, that was actually a misnomer. Because what happened was that there were members of the public on that committee. And that changed it from actually the standpoint of an ad hoc to really a standing committee. You all created that committee before I became your attorney. So what happened,
But you have a community voice was able to be at the committee meeting. You can hear me, I talk loud enough.
Yeah. You can.
Anyway, that's figure it out, but it's really important.
I can't hear her.
It can certainly be figured out. There's a way to do it, and you can have the same type of dialogue that you had there without calling it a Brown Act, without violating the Brown Act. Okay, so and we can figure it out.
So bottom line is they can take part, but they're not an official member of the ad hoc committee. Okay, so we have the next standard operating procedures. I think this is, okay, so who's interested in this committee? All right. All right, we have Commissioner Case. I'm just going around the table. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. Okay, Commissioner Aziz, Commissioner Honore, Commissioner Harvey, and Commissioner Rubio. Anyone else? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Let's move on. Personnel Ad Hoc Committee. Did you guys it was standard operating. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Okay, personnel. We have Commissioner Justice, Commissioner Honore, Commissioner Molmat. Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed Commissioner Brown.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Diaz. Thank you. We have the training to get our training in order. And we already have some trainings planned and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Anybody to focus our training more so? Commissioner Aziz? Commissioner Hilpert? I'm so sorry, Commissioner Ramirez, my fault. Commissioner Harvey? And Commissioner Malmat? And Commissioner Diaz?
And Commissioner Larkin.
Pardon me?
And Commissioner Larkin on the screen behind you.
Thank you, I'm so sorry. Commissioner Larkin. So we can't put it on. Are you interested in that committee?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay,
am.
let's I appoint Commissioner Larkin. All right, so now we have our four committees, ad hoc committees, I'd like to clarify. And we can talk about when you want to start meeting. Do we want to have a little breakout after? We can call the meeting close. Well, it's almost 7. At the end, maybe we can, yes, sir, Commissioner Harvey. The current proposed bylaws say you have to be. We don't have bylaws yet.
No, I get that. That's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
I mean, not that, I'm just saying that since all our commissioners are they at least in one ad hoc?
Yeah, it
program?
appears so, yes. Commissioner Sanchez would like to join the training. And then Maddox is not here. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey. All right, that's a great point. So as far as meeting, would you like to, are we allowed to exchange phone numbers and emails and things like that?
Yes.
Executive Director, yes.
Yes, we've been, we created a roster for all of the commissioners, so that information will be shared with the entire commission.
Thank you.
And then also, can I also make a kind request that when these meetings are scheduled, that staff is included in the scheduling of these meetings?
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah.
So how do we want to go about scheduling meetings? Do you guys just, each committee can just, perfect. And let us know who your chair is, and we'll put you on the agenda just to update for next meeting. We're not expecting the decisions, but just to update. So thank you. Staff can help facilitate the meetings.
I'm also the person that posts on social media and we send out to our community list. So if we can make sure that we send that information out to the public, I can do that through social media and email lists.
Excellent. First Chair Brown.
I just wanted to know, when will those names of each committee members be posted?
Executive Director Mosley.
Yes, we will post them as soon as possible, hopefully sometime this week.
Thank you. Okay. So once that's done, if you can get with your committee members, figure out a meeting time. You need to tell the cabinet as well. If we can join you, we will. And the staff, please. And do you want to be, he'll know everything. Anyway, and then you can meet however you choose. And then that way they can get it out to the public so they can have their voice. Okay, thank you, everyone. Let's see, next is, well, we have consideration of temporary bylaws for approval, but I think I'm gonna skip that right. Okay, so reimagining the commission case review and backlog of active cases. Executive Director Mosley, did you wanna give some background on this?
Yes, I can. And then also, Mr. Bennett, if you can help me out with this, since this was your item before Public Safety Committee. Hold on one second. So in your meeting packets, I sent the link to our meeting with the Public Safety Committee last week. So that's where we provided an update to the committee. One of the updates was the backlog of cases that were assigned to the commission, and normally the commission/CRB would have on average 20 to 25 active cases. Since 2020, we know that the cases assigned to the commission has more than quadrupled. And it was due to the pandemic shutdown, increase of investigating sergeants in internal affairs, the George Floyd tragedy, as well as there being no way to assign new commissioners to the commission as the interim commissioners were resigning. As of June, we listed 4 options in this item B1, to the Public Safety Committee on how to address the backlog of cases. And this was an item that our outside counsel had presented to the Public Safety Committee. One of the options was to retain a contract investigator to audit the cases that were beyond 1 year. Those cases that are beyond a year, there's a statutory limitation regarding the officers and whether or not the officers can get sustained findings. So those cases are limited. Let me also add that as of today, I checked the numbers and we had at least, we have 119 active cases that's assigned to the commission. They're carried over from the previous interim commission. And of those 119 active cases, 95 are past the 1 year time frame. So what our recommendation was going to be was that we were going to look for a contract investigator who was going to, instead of disposing of those cases, which was another option that we were considering, look at those cases and look for a general trend and also issues within the police department instead of looking at individual officers, which the commission has now been limited since the 1 year has gone by. So the retention of a contract investigator, I was working closely with our public, not public, but purchasing and contracting department for the city in creating a sole source vendor instead of going through the RFP process, because a sole source vendor would be faster and because of the urgency of looking at those cases. And I was recently informed that the POA has questions regarding us contracting with an investigator. What we did also within the time frame is I reached out to NACOL, Jason Weckler. Jason is pretty much an expert in how to conduct investigations, and he's also a member of NACOL. And he recommended another attorney who does investigations and this type of work to us. So that attorney was willing to serve as our contract investigator. All of the paperwork for the sole source vendor, everything has been filled out and sent over to purchasing and contracting. And then we were informed that POA has some questions that it might have to go through meet and confer. So that's the update as far as the retention of contract investigators. The other option was to wait until the chief investigator is hired to audit the cases. I am pleased to report that we have, after an extensive process, we have hired a chief investigator, and she will be starting on October 3rd. So one of her responsibilities will also be looking at these cases. Let me just also add that the number of cases is going to continue to grow, unfortunately, because as these days are going by, internal affairs, they're closing out their investigations and they're forwarding those cases over to my department. So the number of cases that's in backlog is going to continue to grow. It's going to take more than one person to look at those cases, and I've been meeting with Dwayne constantly about how to address this. It's a slow process in trying to address the backlog of cases, but we're seeing light at the end of this tunnel. So, with the hiring of our chief investigator, and also, even though the contract investigator, sole source vendor is pretty much might be going through meet and confer, we still have the option of looking at a chief investigator who, once she's hired, she will be hiring also investigators. And then option 1C was to amend the outside counsel contract for staff retention purposes. Dwayne doesn't want to do that. He has enough on his plate. So that option was pretty much, it was something that we were talking about, but that's something that's like, like towards the end. And then lastly is dispose of the cases without any review or oversight, which I don't think that anyone will want to do, because these cases that, even though they're past the 1 year, there's nothing that can be done as far as issuing a sustained finding to the officers. There's still trends that can be identified within certain districts within San Diego. So that's why disposing of the cases without review or oversight, we don't want a repeat of what happened with Clerb, our county sister body. As far as when they had to dispose of their cases, we want to be able to give it some type of oversight. So this is something that is on our agenda for tonight. I know this is going to take a long time as far as like talking about these cases, and this is for the commission also, as far as like looking at committees, whether there should be a complaint committee to look at these. But reimagining commission case review, how the commission is doing things, or how they were doing things in the past, and looking at a way to do things differently is something that this commission is going to have to be thinking about, because we cannot continue to do it as we were doing it before. So Dwayne, do you have anything that you want to add to what I was just saying?
So thank you, Charmaine. Yeah, I agree. The proposal that I made to the city council in June the 7th was in terms of these backlog cases. For those of you who don't know, the government code allows a police department 1 year, essentially, from the time that there is a complaint filed to investigate, impose any discipline it's going to impose. Once that 1 year is gone, those cases are gone bye-bye. No comment, no discipline, nothing can take place. And those cases should not come to your review for you to go through those cases individually and decide whether or not you agree with what the police department has done, or whether there should be different findings, et cetera. But my proposal was for us to get a hold of the backlog of cases. At the time we went to the city council June the 7th, I think there were between 60 to 80 backlog cases. We could, and the PLA can push back all they want, but you have to be willing to understand the nature of it. What the proposal was to have contract investigators look at these cases. I'd be willing to look at cases myself. I've done hundreds of internal affairs investigations and can do them. It's not a problem. But to have investigators look at these cases and look at the cases, not from the individual standpoint of individual officer misconduct, but from the standpoint of what are these complaints? What are the nature of these complaints? What type of complaints are coming in? What is the department doing with the complaints? Why do we continue to get certain types of complaints? I guarantee you that if you go back and you look at the backlog of cases commissions, you're going to find trends. You're going to find policies. You're going to find things that you disagree with, whether it's training, whether it's policy, et cetera. And there's no reason in the world why you can't, in a public meeting, have the discussion as to what you're seeing. If you're seeing pretext stops, which you will see, as a commission, you're going to see pretext stop. You're going to see claims of discrimination. You're going to see complaints come in of untoward force, use of force. Unfortunately, we'll have escalated events. You can have public discussion about those issues, and you can hear from the police department in terms of what their response is. That was a proposal, to go through all these cases, to bring a finding back to you so that you could do that. You could do that now, commission. If you had a review and you had these cases audited, you would be able to have discussion about these cases and things that you see, policies that you think maybe need to be changed, et cetera. You could do that now without getting into the nitty-gritty of the cases. But the other thing and this is something, Chair, that you all really, really, really should consider by way of an ad hoc committee, is how you're going to assess and address cases going forward. So right now, the former model, which is a model that is not sustainable, was a model where you broke up into committees. So you'd have 3 or 4 commissioners get into a committee and you'd go through a slew of cases, internal affairs cases, and you look at everything and you go through body worn video, and then you'd write up a report and bring it back to the commission in closed session. If you do that with this new commission, you have way too much responsibility to do that. You have way too much on your plate to do that. You cannot sustain that model. If you try, I guarantee you, you'll spend all your time in closed session meetings and you're going to handle a fraction of the cases while things are going on. You're not going to have community input. So the proposal going forward that I made was that you have this model going forward where you have, and we take a page out of the clerk playbook, have your investigators, once the investigators are here, have the investigators go through these internal affairs investigations. They know the policies, they know the procedure, we know the law. We can discuss that with you, and then you can make findings in closed session. You can go through 15 cases in the time that it would take a former commission, the time to go through 3, doing it that way. But this is something that you have to decide. If you decide as a commission, no, you want to go through and you want to break yourself into groups, and you want to look at each individual internal affairs case, and you want 4 or 5 cases assigned to you, and you want to do reports, etc., then that's your call. You can do that. That's your option. But in order to expedite your work and to get you more in front of the public and out of closed session, you're going to need to decide how you want to do cases.
Thank you. We have a number of hands. Yes. I just have a question for you on how deciding cases going forward. Wouldn't that be part of the standard operating procedures committee? Okay.
Yes, that is.
Okay. Commissioner Honore was first. Oh, yes, we have 1 comment from the public, 2 comments from the public. Okay.
The public comment period for this item is now open. If you have already joined the Zoom webinar online or by phone, please raise your hand if you wish to speak per the instructions on the screen. If you're in person, please come up to the podium when your name is called. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public who wish to provide virtual testimony must enter the virtual queue by raising their hand before the queue closes. The queue will close when the last virtual speaker finishes speaking or 5 minutes after in-person testimony ends, whichever happens first. You will have 1 minute to speak. Andrea St. Julian?
Yes, I enjoyed what Charmaine, Executive Director Mosley, was talking about. Just want to make sure that everyone keeps in mind that it's your decision exactly what you decide to do with that. Those are only options presented to you. I also just want to flag something that was of real concern to me, even though it was said very casually, that the Police Officers Association was notified about how you were going to do this and gave you pushback on that. I have no idea why the commission is talking to the POA about how they're running themselves internally and almost acting as if they should be getting permission to do something. Be very careful about that. I don't even understand why that went on. And also be very careful when the POA screams all the time that something has to go through meet and confer. They oftentimes claim meet and confer at times when there is really no need to go through meet and confer. So please be very careful about that.
So I have my hand up. I just wanted to clarify.
Colleen Cusack?
Hi.
1 moment.
Charmaine, did you say something right now? I don't know if I cut you off.
We have 2 more public speakers before.
I know, but she was saying something and I couldn't hear it here.
Can folks hear us on the virtual?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Can you?
I can wait for public comment.
Thank you.
All right, your time is now begins.
Okay, thank you. I would like to recommend a 5th choice for going forward with the cases that can't be addressed. I noticed that you have as one of the options on your training as a ride-along. I think that's largely going to be a waste of time. If the police know you're next to them, you're not going to see the reality. What I would recommend is to take all the body worn cameras from all the cases that you can't act on because they're too old, and use those body worn cameras to educate you on what is happening. The body worn cameras are restricted. 85% of the criminal cases that are issued as infractions, and we don't get those. And all the ones I fight for and I finally get, I discover all kinds of things happening. So I think that would be very educational for you, and it would give you a better insight into what's happening. It would be kind of like an audit of a one-day ride along where they didn't know you were there.
Thank you. This concludes in-person public comment. We have a member of the public attending virtually. Paul Parker, we're going to go ahead and ask you to unmute.
Allowed to talk. You can
Go ahead and unmute.
Good evening. Can you folks hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Paul Parker, and I'm the Executive Officer of the San Diego County Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board. First and foremost, congratulations for kicking off this work. I can't wait to see, and for your willingness, obviously, to serve as commissioner. Everybody from CLRB to local, state, and national folks are watching what you do, and I'm very excited to see you get this kicked off. I'm, as mentioned in Ms. St. Julian's letter earlier, and as Commissioner Aziz has mentioned, I'll be available to assist your commission in whatever way possible as you move forward. I plan to attend each meeting either remotely or in person to also learn from you as you move forward and see how you expand upon existing civilian oversight practices in San Diego. To be clear, please do not make the same mistake that we at CLRB made. I would strongly recommend do not to dismiss any of these cases. Look at them from the systemic issue and trend background or lens, and then also do as much as you can outside of closed session. Thank you.
This concludes public comment on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Honore.
Do we want to go back to Charmaine Mosley?
Yes. Yes, I have a clarification comment regarding Ms. Andrea San Julian's comment regarding the Office of the Commission on Police Practices. Our department is responsible for providing administrative support to the commission, right? We're responsible for making sure that the day-to-day operations of the commission is met. In order for us to be able to create a sole source vendor or a contract with anyone on the outside of the city, we must go through the city's purchasing and contracting department. There's just no wiggle room around that. And then once that contract goes through the purchasing and contracting department, then whatever contract it is forward to the city's labor unions. So that's how POA has, they have involvement or they know about, the contract. And Dwayne, do you have anything that you might want to add regarding this as well?
In terms of the meeting, are you talking about in terms of meet and confer?
Yes, in terms of the meet and confer and city processes, this is not, the commission, our department is still a city department, so we do have to follow city rules. So there's just no getting around.
Well, it's my understanding that it was not the commission going to the city, et cetera. It's that the city, from what I understand, the city attorney's office working with the CPP regarding the sole source pushed it through and notified the CPP that the POA had a concern. Anytime there is a change, and those of you who do employment, you know this, anytime there is a change or potential change in working conditions, the unions can argue or can ask for a meet and confer. They think it's going to impact them. Apparently, the POA has some concerns, but that does not mean that we can't just simply sit down and meet with them, alleviate those concerns, and move forward. So what you do is, the obligation for the commission is to meet and confer in good faith, explain what you're doing, explain the issues here, and the audited approach to these cases, like Mr. Parker said, and like Ms. Mosley said, I don't know where the pushback is. I understand they may have concerns, but once we explain it to them, we should be good to go. So there's an obligation perhaps to meet and confer. Sometimes you call it meet and consult in good faith, and then you do what you have to do. There are going to be no intentions to violate the law in this case.
Thank you.
Mr. Bennett.
Commissioner Honore?
I have several questions. Hopefully, because of time, I'll get through them quickly. If I understand my math correctly, there were 119 active cases, 95 of which are already past the 1 year, which leaves 24 for this current commission to consider. Is that correct?
That is correct, and they're still coming, so.
And at what rate will these 24 begin to expire?
I would have to go back and check on those numbers, but I can get that to you.
Okay, of course, the concern being that we will get to these active cases before they expire.
There
But
are
that-
some, yes,
that
there are some
question,
cases, there were
at
some
what
cases.
point- That's fine, I get it. I want to be quickly.
Yeah, there were some cases that the previous interim commission has, completed. They're ready to go. And then also there are cases that have due dates of next year. Those cases are like down the line. So it's not fastly approaching. I have already taken into consideration cases that have like the 1 year within the next month or two. So we still have some wiggle room.
Okay, and my follow-up question is, at what point does this commission become capable of beginning to address those so that they do not fall off?
Yes, as we're continuing with our training, I was going to bring it to the commissions for consideration as to getting the commission started with case review, looking to see what case review involves. We do have that on a training agenda, but it's like towards the ending. I want to be able to move that up and have it simultaneously with our other trainings as well.
Okay, and then among the four suggestions, fifth suggestion suggested tonight, which one is the most expeditious such that we do not have cases fall off and such that we can have some response to the 95 that are falling off in a timely manner?
I think that even though POA might have some questions regarding the contract investigator, once those questions are responded to, I sort of responded to the email also today. Once they're satisfied with our response, we can move forward with the contract investigator. That's ready to go. Also, our chief investigator, she will be starting October 3rd. So she has that experience as far as over in New York City, CCRB. So she has that investigatory experience also. So things are coming down the pipeline. It's going to take a little bit more time, but I'm hoping to see like, light at the end of this tunnel within the next month or so.
Okay, again, very quickly, Bonnie Von Wilport in that video from the Public Safety Committee. And just as a clear trade aside, this says Public Safety Committee meeting item 1, June 7, 2023, but the banner on the video says May 17th, 2023. Why is that?
It says what? I'm sorry.
It says May 17th, 2023 is what the banner says on the video, even though underneath it says June 7th. Maybe we can look into the time.
That might be an error. I believe that meeting was in June 7th, and then we'll be having another follow-up update. I believe it's going to be scheduled for next week also. So Alina, I'm going to ask staff to look at that to make sure that we have the correct date on that.
Okay, so my final question is, Marty Von Wilport made some recommendations of ways to speed this along. Have those recommendations been considered and some of them adopted?
Yes, she did, and she has been in contact with our department as to find out the status update and for us to be able to report out to what's working and what's not working. So we'll be given an update at next week's meeting as well.
And now we have Commissioner Case. Okay, before you, I'm sorry. We're 10 minutes out from ending the meeting. So if we want to extend the meeting, we need to have a motion to extend and how long. And if we do, I'd also like to see what we can get done and what we should table for next meeting. So do we?
Well, there may be a limit of how long we can stay here with the library.
We have to be out of here by 8.
There you go. All
I was
right.
gonna say, I mean, I agree with everything that Mr. Bennett said. And really, I think the most viable option, the most expeditious option is option 1A, which is retention of the contract investigator. The issue of what we do moving forward is something we need to address soon, but we can't address that tonight, nor do we need to address it tonight. And I think it could be the first order of business of the Operating Procedures Committee, but for the sake of moving the agenda along and coming to a decision, I would recommend that
Is everyone frozen?
Can you hear us better?
Yes, now it's better.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rubio has the floor.
I'd like to thank everyone who's still here in the room and on their way back. So thank you very much, interim executive director and former commission as well, for all the work that you've done. I do want to say that I definitely acknowledge that it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be emotionally draining to review evidence. And however, having a legal counsel might not be in our best interest, because we're here to make sure that our lived experiences are the ones acknowledging and identifying these systems in place. So this is going to create the perception of what the city has already doing and the work that district attorneys and communities has been undergoing. So it's very important for us to use our lived experiences in order to understand what the foundation of our community looks like. Because if we have other folks who have this analytical bureaucratic like standpoint, it's going to give us an analytic and bureaucratic standpoint and interpretation of what our city does look like. So I just want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration before having a legal counsel. And I understand we can't take action, but it's just in order for us to have a perspective on it. And I just like to emphasize the public comment from earlier in terms of body worn cameras and all of that evidence. We should figure out a way collaboratively to apply what we know to gain a really good interpretation of what our city looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Then next we had Paul Parker. He had his hand up on the virtual.
Let me check here. He no longer has his hand up, but.
Yes, yes, I have you next. Actually, one more and then you. Paul Parker,
Have a minute.
can you hear us, please?
He is unmuted.
Paul Parker, can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. You have 1 minute, please.
Oh, Chair, I already spoke.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Malmat and then Hilpert. No? Okay, Commissioner Hilpert.
I think one of the questions that I have is, in order for us to make a decision, what are the POA's concerns? I think we need to know what the POA's concerns are so we can actually try to make a decision based on whether or not we even think it's something that's worth moving forward. Because I think, like Andreas St. Julian said, they like to ask for meet and confer for everything. I mean, are they legit concerns? I think we need to know what their concerns are before we can try to make a decision on which model to follow.
I don't think we're deciding on what model to follow. We're just deciding what to do on the backlog of cases. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the model of those, thank you.
My understanding, though, is one of the considerations on the model of the backlog is having an outside counsel or independent investigator review those on our behalf and then report back with what they found.
Okay.
And my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that's what the POA has a concern about. So I'm curious, what are those concerns? And then we can figure out how to move forward.
I recommend to make it, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you very much. I recommend to make this an actionable step instead of just shooting into, what is it? I forgot the reference. Is to review the contract collectively. We want to make sure what's in there before we sign on a legal counsel to look at these bad cases and give us information, because we're going to be relying solely on them.
I think right now we're in a rush, so I would like to suggest,
I think there are like two things we're talking about. One is the contract investigator, who he just so happens to be an attorney. He's not the commission's outside counsel. The other thing is, when we talk, which is item 1C, is amending the outside counsel, which is Dwayne Bennett, his contract, right? But we have to also keep in mind that Dwayne, we only have a certain amount of money that's in Dwayne's pot of, for his services, his legal services. So we can't like use up all of that money. So I think there are two things that we're talking about. I mean, we all have experiences when it comes to the police department. Dwayne also, he shared his experiences. I have mine as well. But I think that we need to keep in mind that the contract investigator that the POA has questions about right now, that's going to be ironed out. That's something that's coming down the pipeline. And, these are just options that we presented at our June meeting with Public Safety Committee. And then we're going to be updating them on where we're at with these options also. I believe that the council chair for public safety, she's been very supportive of, of our options and moving this forward. So I just wanted to add that also.
And Commissioner, can I just say one thing in terms of these options? The key is for you just to go ahead and decide which option you want. If that's an option you want, that's fine. You just give it to us. We'll deal with the meeting from first stuff on the back end. So the key is, as long as you're clear that this is something that you would like to pursue, we can deal with the meet and confer issue as we move it along.
we still have a motion on the floor. Excuse me, Commissioner Honore had his hand up.
As quickly as practicable. So the cases we're referring to right now are the 95 that we can't
Correct.
actually do anything about.
Correct.
And unfortunately, I think maybe something I said got us focused on those 95 as opposed to the 24 we still have to work with that are not backlogged that we need to get done before they become unable to deal with them. So I'm hoping, 7:34, I don't know, but hopefully tonight we'll decide what we're going to do about the cases we can do something about. And with that, I would like to call the question. For those of you who don't know what that means that's a motion to end debate and go directly to the vote.
Okay, then thank you. We will take that. So the motion on the floor is what to do with the backlog of cases first. So we have, you want to repeat your motion, Commissioner Case? Do you want me to just, all right, one option is to retain an outside investigator to audit cases over 1 year and to look for trends. The other one is wait until the chief investigator is hired to audit the cases. That will be October 3rd. I think.
Commissioner Chase, can you please?
The motion was for the CPP to retain a contract investigator to audit the cases over 1 year and report back to the commission with the trends and issues.
And that was seconded. So now let's vote. So all those in favor of looking at trends for any of the cases over 1 year, those in favor, raise your hand. I'm sorry?
Using a contract investigator.
Using an outside contract investigator. Okay, so 1, 2. Okay, so that's all in favor. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who seconded the motion?
Commissioner Harvey, yes. 7, 8, 9, 10. No, it's Commissioner Rubio. Okay, did you guys get a count on that?
Who seconded the motion?
Okay.
Commissioner
Commissioner
Brown.
Brown did.
And all commissioners except.
All those opposed? All those opposed? Okay, Commissioner Rubio, thank you. All right, so that motion passes, and that's how we will handle those cases for over a year. Once the new chief investigator comes in, we can also work with her to find an outside investigator and look at those trends. All right, next, I think as we have to wrap up this meeting, I would like to propose that we look at future dates for commission regular meetings and then the consideration for the training dates and table the rest of the agenda. So let's go ahead and look at the future dates for regular business meetings. Do Tuesdays work? Do Thursdays work? What are we looking at? What works best for everyone? Because I think that if we get regular meetings on our schedule, we'll get people here. Commissioner Geierman,
Oh, no, wait.
please. Okay, there's a point of information. Hold on.
Just a quick point of information for space-wise, Mondays and Tuesdays, libraries stay open late. The rest of the work week, they close either 5 or 6.
6 o'clock. but
6
we can
o'clock.
also- We can also look into Balboa Park and other areas too if we need.
Yes, so there are alternative options, but specifically for libraries, during the week, outside of Monday and Tuesday, they close at 6 p.m.
I just
Okay.
wanted to say that I live up north, and so that if we have an evening meeting, the traffic is really terrible, and I really, really would rather just do it by Zoom then, because it's.
We have to do it in person, but maybe a different location that's more central.
We can look into a more.
Okay.
central area.
And
So that's my comment. I think nighttime here is pretty.
interim commissioner, interim executive director Mosley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So just like staff just mentioned, it's very, very difficult to as far as being able to reserve these locations. Like even for our trainings, like for the location that you're at today, very, very difficult. We have to make sure that we have the capacity of a certain amount of individuals in the room. If the room is too small, it will not work, especially because of the COVID that's been happening. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. Staff and myself, we'll make ourselves available regardless, but we just also have to keep in mind that with whichever dates that the commission does select, we're just gonna have to try to find out if there's a meeting location, and then those dates and times may not be viable.
Thank you. Could we possibly propose, if you can look into a couple of other meeting locations and maybe the dates they are available for the week, because and give it options to the group and see what's decided. Balboa Park. Okay, yes, Commissioner Case.
I was going to suggest that we have the staff propose some options in terms of meeting times that work with facilities, and then do a doodle poll or some type of poll with the commission, and then have the officers make a decision based upon the results of that poll.
I love that idea. I don't think we need a vote on that. Does everyone seem to agree? Okay, that way we try to.
Or we can spend 25 minutes right now trying to find.
We're moving on. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now the recommended training. If you can't make, I'm guessing that you have let interim executive director Mosley know your availability. Yes, ma'am. They have. Has everyone done that?
Yes, most of them have, and I want to say I'm still waiting for responses from some of the commissioners. Okay. So if you have not responded to my email last week, please do so as soon as possible. The trainings are so important, so that as far as the efficiency and the credibility of this commission. So we want to be able to make sure that we're able to go ahead and move forward with some of these trainings. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Honore.
Number one, trainings are not regular meetings, right? So if someone misses a training, even if they're not excused, they will not be censured on this commission. Is that correct?
So what we did was, because there's a quorum of commissioners, we made these trainings as regular business meetings of the commission, so y'all can do whatever action that y'all need to do. And then also be trained on certain things. Like tonight's training, we were going to have Brown Act. We were also going to have, talking about the administrative rules of the city. So there's a compilation. For September 19th training at SBPD, there's going to be two tours of the headquarters. We're gonna
So
have.
I don't need to relate. I don't need detail. I just need to know if these are considered regular meetings and if missing these meetings without an excuse is going to count against you as a commissioner. That's all I need is a yes or no to that question.
It's considered a regular meeting of the commission.
Well, also though, when the bylaws committee is working on it, if the bylaws committee chooses to make the trainings not count towards absences, that is within our purview.
Okay, because they're different times, they're different locations,
I
they're different lengths,
understand that.
and so I know, I wouldn't be surprised if a number of folks are not able to make it.
So can I just recommend that the folks on the bylaws committee take that into consideration, please?
If it's a quorum of the commission, then it has to be a notice meeting of the commission, if there's a quorum of commissioners.
Correct. I was just saying that if it's a training, then that, and they can't make the training because it's on a Saturday or it's on a day that they cannot attend, that doesn't count against the excused absences or unexcused absences. I was making a recommendation, the bylaws committee can make the decision. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I'm tempted to make a motion. You can tell me if this is the appropriate time right now, because we're talking about upcoming trainings. Our next training is scheduled for the 19th to tour the police department. And given that our priority is trying to be able to review cases in a timely manner before the 1 year gets up, I don't think that's appropriate use of our time. And I think the content of that training should be changed to something that'll get us more on the road to being able to review cases.
So I can.
Please do.
Yes, so I can talk about the importance of the tour of headquarters because you're gonna have to tour Sallyport. The commissioners will also have to tour dispatch. There are complaints that come in for both and also other units within the police department. So that's why we have that tour of the police department there. Also, there's gonna be a presentation on internal affairs. I believe it's internal affairs investigations. So there's also that component of the training. So the trainings that we've identified are like really, really important so that you could be able to understand those cases that's coming down the pipeline.
Commissioner Mel, thank you, Commissioner.
I think we need to decide that as a commission. So my motion is that we change the training for the 19th and have that be a business meeting until the commission decides what our training is going to be. I thought it was our decision what our training is.
It is, and this is set up ahead of time, so there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Who seconded it? Commissioner, please, Commissioner Harvey seconded. Wait, Commissioner Rubio, 1 second. Commissioner Harvey seconded. Now there's discussion. Would you like to speak, Commissioner Rubio? Thank you. Please use the mic. Please use the mic. Thank you.
Question, will you be postponing it or are you just trying to get rid of it?
I think the topic of what the training is needs to be determined by this commission, not what's already written down. And since we have that time scheduled, I think it would be helpful if we could continue on with the things that are tabled from this agenda. So that's my motion.
So would you recommend to postpone it?
So still have, I don't know.
Like
The
that's
definition
not part of
the training.
That's not part of the motion is to turn that training into regular business meeting.
Understood.
Discussion, Commissioner Honore.
I think the motion speaks to the concern I raised earlier. We have 24 cases. We don't even know when they expire. Our interim executive director knows they may not be expiring that soon, but we need to get to the work of the commission. And the work of the commission is getting current. We can't do anything about the ones that are old. We do have a process we put in place, but we can do something about the ones that are in front of us now. And although, yes, we do need to get more information about how that process works, we have a council, we have experienced people on this board already. We have our executive director and staff. As I was saying earlier, and I think the motion speaks to, we need to get to work. And we can do training while we work, but the work should, in my opinion, should be priority. I mean, let me reiterate, 95 of 119 cases already dropped off. And Paul Parker mentioned the 22 deaths because from a clerk, they never got a chance to look at. Nobody, these families, their family members died in custody, and nobody's gonna ask a question about it only because it was over a year old. Don't these people, don't our citizens from this community, the review board, don't they deserve to, for us to do the work they called us to do before it becomes too late? I'll stop there.
I'm sorry, we need to move. Is it quick?
Actually. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we can take public comment for this item. You have one, would you like to speak? 1 minute.
Wait, 1 second, 1 second.
Yeah, because I really want to speak to the training, and I want to note that the 19th is 9:30 to 12, and so most of us who work regular hours in the community would not be able to attend that. And the community is very interested in changing and revising and making more community-based the training schedule as the commissioner was talking about. And so I'm hoping that you'd have a meeting that's accessible to the community to talk about the training, you know, like a night or even a weekend.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, so the motion on the floor is to change the September 19th Police Department headquarters tour to a training session, or excuse me, a regular meeting. All right, so we're gonna vote. All those in favor?
1 second,
1,
thank
2,
you.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay,
Wait, sorry, I still need to take the,
keep your hands up, please.
thank you.
Commissioner Harvey's back there too. Right there.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner Aguilar had his hand up as well. Please keep your hands up.
It's,
So
yes,
to say
you
no
can
or
take
you
back the vote.
abstain, you can.
You can, okay, but I haven't gotten there yet. All those
Thank
in
you.
favor, all those in favor, please keep your hands up so they can get the proper count.
Please keep your hands up. Yeah, thank you.
All those opposed? Okay, there's
Thank you.
2. And abstentions?
And then, yes, yes.
Okay, 3.
Who's the third?
Abstain.
And who's the second?
Diaz and Rubio. Yes,
Diaz and
you're
Rubio and
abstaining.
Justice abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Diaz, Rubio, and Justice abstain.
You-
Got it?
Justice Rubio. Oh, no.
All right, would we have a location for that meeting? Can you make that meeting a location?
We don't have that yet. We need to look into the calendar.
Okay, so that would be for September 19th. If we cannot get, no, we're talking September 19th. If we cannot get a meeting location in that short notice in the city, is there a proposal for what we do? Do you want to just go ahead and continue the tour of the police department if we don't have meeting space? All right, I think we would need to make a motion because I don't know, can you find a space within a week?
We might.
Yes, Commissioner Hilbert.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think time-wise, trying to get space is gonna be difficult. So I was gonna say, if we can't get space, I would make a motion to just continue that. I know some people have concerns about the police department issue. I get that. But I do think it's important, just obviously seeing cases as they come in. We need to know how the department is routing things. It's important to know when they have detainees come in. We need to be able to see what's going on, and hearing about is one thing, but seeing it for ourselves is another. And I also agree with Commissioner Honore here is we do need to move forward on training as fast as possible so we can start reviewing those cases. Because to his point, people file a complaint, they wait sometimes a year before they get a letter, and it's very unsatisfying to think like, you filed this complaint, nothing's happening. So I think we need to do what we can to keep moving training along. Now, how we decide to do that's a whole nother story, but my motion would be, if we can't move it, let's keep it as is.
Is there a second? Commissioner Ramirez. I would also like to add, if we don't know what the policies are of the police department, how do we know if they should be improved? So I don't see necessarily a problem with doing that at some point. With all due respect, I agree with you, Commissioner Honore, that we owe it to those families. So, but we also need to know what's going on in order to, a lot of us are new at this. And I'd like to know what the policies are, to know if the policies are wrong. Yes, Commissioner Malma.
I'm on, yes, I'm Darlene Hockermoma, and what I don't understand about this training is how we're gonna learn that, Commissioner Tran, because we're getting a tour. How does that explain the processes?
From what I see an overview of internal affairs gives us a chance to answer the questions, and that's my perspective. Yes, Commissioner Murray Ramirez.
I call the question.
So there's a motion on the floor to continue with that. Is there a second? Okay, there's a second. Just a note that Ms. Obi has looked at the meeting. You want to fill us in? Sure.
Just to really quick, I checked all San Diego public libraries right now. There's no availability for 4:30 or 5:30 meeting in the evening on September the 19th. One other location we can look into is the Balboa Park rooms, but that we have to do via email. We can't just check.
Okay, so now we have to take a vote now. So all those in favor of, if there is not a room available, to continue with the training on September 19th, please raise your hand. Okay, please keep your hands up, and we're being kicked out, so basically we got to move along. Okay, raise your hands.
Yes.
These are all in favor of attending the training if you do not secure a room for that evening.
Yes. thank you.
Okay, all those opposed?
Mona and Brown.
Commissioner Harvey's back there, Commissioner
Oh,
Brown.
okay. So Harvey, Brown, and Mona.
Commissioner Honore, I'm sorry, okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, any abstentions? Any abstentions? Okay, can I have a motion to end this meeting, and we will take?
Can I make one comment?
Yes,
There may be concerns on the commission that the staff will not prioritize finding a meeting space. We need you to prioritize finding a meeting space, right?
Yes,
Okay,
so
yeah.
we will prioritize it, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Benitez. We need a motion to table the rest of the agenda and to end this meeting. Okay, Commissioner Murray Ramirez, second by Commissioner Hilpert. All those in favor? Aye. Meeting is ended. Thank you.